In 2004, a team of Japanese researchers dropped a camera into the deep Pacific, attached it to a baited line at 900 meters, and waited. For hours, nothing. Then, at 9:15 in the morning, a shape rose out of the black, an enormous mass of muscle and tentacle, hitting the bait with a force that would break a human arm. It was the first time a live giant squid had ever been filmed in the wild. We had been chasing this animal for over 150 years, and in a single morning, the chase ended. Think about that for a moment. We have sent people to the moon. We have mapped the human genome. We have built machines that can think. And yet this creature, large enough to be called a monster, sharing our planet right now, had successfully hidden its most basic behaviors from us until a decade ago. How it mates, how it grows, how it hunts, how long it lives. All of these things remain to some degree mysteries. The giant squid is not a myth. It is not a legend that we inherited from superstitious sailors. It is real. Its scientific name is Architeuthis dux. It belongs to the family Architeuthidae. It is the largest invertebrate on Earth, and it is one of the least understood large animals in the history of biology. Tonight, we are going to descend into the world of this creature. We are going to follow the threads of evidence that connect ancient stories of sea monsters to the very real animals that live in the darkness below us. We are going to explore the science of deep-sea giants, from the giant squid to the colossal squid, from the mythical kraken to the very real leviathans that patrol the abyssal plains. And we are going to confront the mystery that surrounds them all. How something so large can remain so unknown. If this slow, quiet exploration of the deep ocean's greatest mysteries is something you find yourself enjoying tonight, I would be grateful if you would take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It is a quiet comfort to know that there are others who share this fascination with the hidden world beneath the waves. And if you feel like it, let me know in the comments where you are listening from tonight. Tell me what time it is where you are. There is something strangely grounding about knowing that across different time zones, in different rooms, in different states of wakefulness, other curious minds are drifting through these dark waters with us. Now find your comfortable position. Let your body settle into the mattress. Let the weight of the day begin to drain out of your shoulders and your neck and your jaw. Take a slow breath in and let it out even slower. We are about to descend, not into the ocean yet, but into the story of how we came to know the giant that lives beneath it. Because the story of the giant squid is the story of human curiosity meeting its limit. It is the story of a creature that refused to be known, that slipped through every net we cast, that appeared only as fragments and remains and echoes. And in that refusal, it taught us something important about the ocean itself. The ocean is not a zoo. It does not display its inhabitants for our convenience. It hides them. It conceals them in layers of darkness and pressure and cold that we were never designed to penetrate. And the giant squid is the living symbol of that concealment. It is the proof that there are still things on this planet that we have not mastered, things that exist on their own terms, in a world that does not include us. Let us begin at the beginning. Or rather, let us begin at the first moment the modern world realized that the old stories might be true. In the year 1861, a French warship called the Leviathan was cruising through the waters of the eastern Atlantic Ocean, near the island of Tenerife in the Canary Islands. The crew spotted something floating on the surface. At first, they thought it was a wreck, a piece of debris from some unlucky vessel. But as they approached, they realized that what they were looking at was not a piece of wood or metal. It was alive. Or it had been alive, very recently. The thing was enormous. It floated half-submerged in the water, its body a massive, pulpy mass of reddish flesh, its tentacles trailing behind it like thick ropes. The captain of the Leviathan, a man named Jean-Baptiste Bouillet, ordered the crew to prepare a boat. They were going to capture this thing and bring it aboard. What happened next is one of the most famous encounters in the history of marine biology. The crew managed to get ropes around the creature's body. They hauled. The ropes tightened. The creature was heavy, incredibly heavy, and the sailors struggled to lift it out of the water. As they pulled, the creature's weight increased, and the ropes began to cut into its flesh. And then, with a sound that the sailors would later describe as a deep, wet tearing, the creature broke apart. The tail section, the main mass of the body, slipped out of the ropes and sank back into the depths. What the crew managed to haul aboard was only a fragment, a single tentacle. but that tentacle was over 6 meters long, 20 feet. The crew of the Allecton had encountered a giant squid, and while they failed to bring the entire animal to the surface, they brought back proof. A piece of a living creature that should not have existed according to the science of the time. When the Allecton returned to France, the fragment was presented to the Academy of Sciences in Paris. The scientists examined it, measured it, and debated its origins. Some argued that it was a piece of a whale's tentacle, or the arm of a large octopus that had been stretched by decomposition. Others, more open to the possibility, suggested that it might belong to a new species, a giant cephalopod that had never been properly described. The debate was not resolved quickly. In fact, it would take another decade before the world had its first real glimpse of a complete giant squid. That glimpse came in 1873 on the coast of Newfoundland, Canada. A fisherman named Theophilus Picot was out in his boat when he saw something unusual floating in the shallow water near the shore. It looked like a large pale mass, partly submerged. Picot approached cautiously, and when he was close enough, he reached out with a gaff hook and poked the thing. He should not have done that. The water exploded. A massive pair of tentacles shot up from the surface, wrapping around Picot's boat. The creature, which had been lying still and seemingly dead, was very much alive. It began to drag the small fishing boat toward deeper water. Picot fought back, grabbing an axe and hacking at the tentacles that gripped his vessel. He cut through one, then another. The creature released the boat and disappeared beneath the waves. But it left something behind. A section of tentacle, still twitching, still covered in suckers. Picot brought it ashore and showed it to a local clergyman and naturalist named Moses Harvey. Moses Harvey was fascinated. He knew immediately that this fragment came from a creature of extraordinary size. He began to ask questions, to search for more evidence. And later that same year, he got what he had been hoping for. Another giant squid was found, this time dead and floating near the surface. Harvey managed to secure the body and bring it to his home, where he photographed it and studied it in detail. The photographs that Moses Harvey took are some of the most haunting images in the history of natural science. They show a creature that looks like something from a fever dream. A massive, elongated body, pale and glistening. 2 enormous eyes, each one the size of a human head. A tangle of arms and tentacles, some of them over 10 meters long, covered in rows of suction cups lined with sharp serrated teeth. And at the center of it all, a beak. A hard, black, parrot-like beak, capable of tearing through flesh and bone. For the first time, the world could see what a giant squid actually looked like, and it was every bit as terrifying as the old sailors' tales had claimed. But Moses Harvey's photographs did more than just confirm the existence of the giant squid. They opened a door to a new realm of biological inquiry. If a creature this large could exist in the ocean without being properly documented by science, what else was down there? What other giants were waiting in the darkness? That question has haunted oceanographers ever since. And it is the same question that we are going to explore tonight. Because the giant squid is not alone. It is part of a community of deep-sea giants that we are only beginning to understand. There is the colossal squid, larger and heavier than the giant squid, armed with rotating hooks instead of simple suckers. There is the giant octopus of the North Pacific, whose arms can span over 6 meters. There is the oarfish, a ribbon-like creature that can grow to over 10 meters in length and is believed to be the source of many sea serpent legends. There is the Greenland shark, a slow-moving behemoth that can live for over 400 years and grows to over 6 meters long. And there are the whales. Of course, the sperm whale in particular, which dives into the abyss to do battle with the giant squid in a darkness that no human has ever witnessed. All of these creatures share something in common. They are large, they live in the deep, and they are surrounded by mystery. The ocean covers over 70% of the surface of our planet. It has an average depth of nearly 4,000 meters, and yet we have explored less than 20% of it. That means that the vast majority of the ocean, the largest habitat on Earth, has never been seen by human eyes. The deep sea is the last great frontier on our planet, and it is filled with creatures that we have not yet discovered. Some of those creatures may be giants. We know this because we keep finding evidence of them. A strand of DNA in a water sample that does not match any known species. An unexplained sound recorded by a hydrophone, too loud and too low to be made by any animal we know. A scar on the body of a sperm whale, the size of a dinner plate, made by something with hooks that we cannot identify. A fishing net hauled up from 1,000 meters, torn and empty, with something large still visible in the depths below before it disappears. The deep ocean does not give up its secrets easily. It guards them with pressure and darkness and cold. It erases the evidence of what lives there. It is a place of forgetting, where bodies sink and decompose and are consumed before they can be found. And yet, every now and then, the ocean gives us a glimpse, a fragment, a photograph, a sound, just enough to remind us that we are not alone, that there are things in the darkness that we have not yet named. Tonight, we are going to follow those glimpses. We are going to assemble the fragments and try to see the whole picture. We are going to explore the science of the giant squid, the colossal squid, the Leviathans of myth and reality. And we are going to descend, slowly and quietly, into the deepest mysteries of the ocean. Take another breath. Let the air fill your lungs, and then release it slowly. Let your body relax a little more. Let your mind begin to drift. Our journey begins in the darkness of the deep ocean, where the largest eyes on Earth are searching for something. Let us begin by understanding the animal itself. The giant squid, Architeuthis dux, is a cephalopod, a member of the same family as octopuses, cuttlefish, and the smaller squid that most of us are familiar with. But it is a cephalopod that has taken the basic body plan of its relatives and scaled it to almost absurd proportions. A full-grown giant squid can reach a length of over 13 meters, or 43 feet, from the tip of its mantle to the end of its tentacles. There have been unconfirmed reports of even larger specimens, some approaching 18 meters or 60 feet. The eyes of a giant squid are the largest of any animal on Earth, measuring up to 27 centimeters in diameter, about the size of a dinner plate. Its brain is donut-shaped, with the esophagus passing through the center, meaning that if a giant squid swallows something too large, it can quite literally give itself a brain injury. The arms of a giant squid are divided into two types. There are 8 arms, each lined with 2 rows of suction cups. These arms are used for grasping and holding prey. And then, there are 2 longer tentacles, which can extend to twice the length of the arms. These tentacles are the squid's primary weapons. They are covered in suckers that are lined with sharp, serrated rings of chitin, the same material that makes up the exoskeletons of insects. These rings can dig into the flesh of prey, anchoring the squid's grip with an almost irresistible force. At the center of the arms is the beak. It is hard, black, and shaped like a parrot's beak. It is made of chitin, and it is strong enough to shear through the cartilage and muscle of a fish or another squid. The beak is the gateway to the squid's digestive system. Everything the squid eats must pass through this opening, and the beak is capable of reducing even large prey to manageable pieces. The giant squid has 3 hearts. 2 of them pump blood to the gills, and the third pumps blood to the rest of the body. The blood of a giant squid is blue, not red, because it uses hemocyanin instead of hemoglobin to transport oxygen. Hemocyanin is based on copper, not iron, and it is more efficient at extracting oxygen from cold, low-oxygen water. This is a crucial adaptation for an animal that lives in the deep ocean, where oxygen levels are significantly lower than at the surface. The nervous system of a giant squid is highly developed. Its brain is large and complex, and its nerve fibers are among the thickest in the animal kingdom. In fact, the giant squid has been studied extensively by neuroscientists because its giant axons, the nerve fibers that control its jet propulsion system, are large enough to be studied with relative ease. These axons can be up to 1 millimeter in diameter, 100 times thicker than a human nerve fiber. They allow the squid to transmit signals at incredible speeds, enabling the rapid contractions that propel it through the water. But for all of this biological complexity, the giant squid remains an enigma. We know what it is made of. We know how its body functions in theory, but we have never seen it in its natural environment for more than a few fleeting moments. We have never observed it hunting. We have never seen it mating. We have never seen it giving birth. We have only the fragments of its existence, pieced together from dead specimens and chance encounters. The first video footage of a living giant squid in its natural habitat was not captured until 2004. A team of Japanese researchers led by Dr. Tsunemi Kubodera had been searching for the giant squid for years. They knew where to look. They knew the giant squid lived in the deep waters off the coast of Japan, in a submarine canyon called the Ogasawara Trench. They had caught glimpses of it before, on sonar, in the stomachs of sperm whales, in the occasional entanglement in fishing gear, but they had never seen it alive. Kubodera and his team used a system of baited cameras lowered to depths of around 900 meters. They used a line with squid as bait and a camera rig that would snap photographs at regular intervals. They waited. They monitored. And then, on September 30th, 2004, they got what they had been hoping for. The camera captured a giant squid approaching the bait. The images were grainy, black and white, illuminated only by the flash of the camera. But they were unmistakable. A large squid, estimated to be about 8 meters long, was seen taking the bait with its tentacles. The images showed the squid in the act of feeding, its tentacles coiled around the bait, its beak working to tear off pieces. The scientific world was electrified. For the first time, humans had seen a giant squid alive in its natural environment. The images were published in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society B, and they made headlines around the world. Kubodera and his team had achieved what generations of biologists had failed to do. But even these historic images raised more questions than they answered. The squid in the photographs was not behaving the way scientists had expected. It did not attack the bait aggressively. It approached cautiously, almost tentatively. It took the bait with its tentacles, but it did not seem to use its arms actively. It fed slowly, deliberately, as if it were conserving energy. This was a revelation. The giant squid, it turned out, might not be the terrifying predator of legend. It might be something more subtle. A patient, slow-moving hunter that drifted through the darkness, conserving its strength, waiting for prey to come to it. This idea has been supported by subsequent observations. In 2006, Kubodera and his team managed to capture video footage of a giant squid. The footage was even more remarkable than the photographs. It showed a giant squid in its natural habitat, its body glowing with bioluminescent spots, its tentacles trailing behind it like the train of a ghostly gown. The squid moved slowly, gracefully, its fins undulating like wings. It was not a monster. It was something more beautiful and more strange. The footage changed the way scientists thought about the giant squid. It was not a mindless killer. It was a highly specialized deep-sea predator, adapted to an environment of extreme scarcity and darkness. Its large eyes were not for hunting in the bright surface waters. They were for detecting the faint bioluminescent flashes of prey and predators in the deep. Its long tentacles were not for grappling with whales. They were for capturing small fish and squid in the vast, empty spaces of the mid-water. And its slow, deliberate movements were not a sign of weakness. They were a sign of efficiency. In the deep ocean, energy is precious. Every movement costs calories that may not be easy to replace. The giant squid has evolved to be a minimalist predator, moving only when necessary, striking with precision when it does. This new understanding of the giant squid has led to a re-evaluation of many of the old stories. The tales of giant squid attacking ships, of tentacles wrapping around hulls and dragging sailors to their doom, these stories now seem less likely to be accurate descriptions of behavior and more likely to be misinterpretations of chance encounters. A giant squid near the surface is a giant squid in distress. It is sick, injured, or disoriented. It is not hunting. It is dying. And when a dying animal thrashes and flails, it can certainly cause damage. But it is not an attack. It is a death spasm. The true nature of the giant squid, then, is not a monster. It is a mystery, a creature that has evolved to thrive in one of the most extreme environments on Earth, an environment that we are only beginning to explore. Let us pause here for a moment. Let the image of that first video settle into your mind. The slow, graceful movement of the giant squid, its bioluminescent spots glowing in the darkness, the tentacles trailing behind like streamers, the fins undulating like wings. This is not the monster of our nightmares. This is something far more interesting. It is a creature that has solved the problem of survival in a world that is almost entirely unlike our own. And what is true for the giant squid is true for so many of the deep ocean's inhabitants. They are not monsters. They are marvels of adaptation, each one uniquely suited to the environment in which it lives. And the more we learn about them, the more we realize how little we know. Take another slow breath. Let your mind relax into the rhythm of the narration. Let the images form in your imagination. We have met the giant squid. Now it is time to meet its larger, more aggressive cousin, the colossal squid. Its scientific name is Mesonychoteuthis hamiltoni. The name means middle-clawed squid, a reference to the hooks that line its arms. And those hooks are the first clue that this is a very different animal from the giant squid. For a long time, the colossal squid was mistaken for a large giant squid. The two species are related, both belonging to the family Archaeoteuthidea, but they are distinct in several important ways. The most obvious difference is size. While the giant squid can reach lengths of 13 meters or more, the colossal squid is shorter but heavier. Its mantle, the main body mass, is thicker and more muscular. Its overall weight is significantly greater. A large colossal squid can weigh over 500 kilograms, more than half a ton. That is heavier than a fully grown horse. But the most significant difference between the two species is in their armament. The giant squid has suckers lined with serrated rings. The colossal squid has something much more dangerous. It has hooks, real, rotating hooks, embedded in its arms and tentacles. These hooks are sharp, curved, and mounted on swivels that allow them to rotate and dig into flesh. They are designed not just to hold prey, but to tear it. Imagine being caught by a creature with hundreds of rotating hooks, each one capable of digging into your flesh and holding on with a grip that does not release. Imagine those hooks pulling you toward a beak that can slice through bone. That is what it means to be prey for a colossal squid. The hooks of the colossal squid are unique in the animal kingdom. No other cephalopod has evolved such a sophisticated system of grasping and tearing. The hooks are made of chitin, like the serrated rings of the giant squid, but they are much larger and more robust. They are arranged in rows along the arms, with the largest hooks at the center and smaller ones at the edges. When the squid strikes, the hooks rotate to face the prey, digging in and holding on with a force that is almost impossible to escape. Scientists believe that the colossal squid evolved these hooks for a specific reason. They are not just for catching fish. They are for defending against the only predator that regularly hunts large squid in the deep ocean. The sperm whale. The sperm whale is the largest toothed predator on Earth. A mature bull sperm whale can reach lengths of over 20 meters and weigh over 50 tons. It is a deep diver, capable of descending to depths of over 2,000 meters in search of food, and its preferred prey is squid. Not small squid, but the large ones. The giant squid. The colossal squid. The relationship between sperm whales and large squid is one of the most dramatic predator-prey dynamics on the planet. Every day, somewhere in the deep ocean, a sperm whale and a giant squid or a colossal squid are engaged in a battle that we have never fully witnessed. The scars on the bodies of sperm whales tell the story. Circular marks, each one the size of a dinner plate, arranged in patterns that match the suckers and hooks of large squid. These scars are evidence of battles fought in absolute darkness, at depths where pressure would crush a human being instantly. We know that sperm whales eat giant squid and colossal squid because we have found the remains of these squid in the stomachs of captured sperm whales. The beaks of the squid, which are indigestible, accumulate in the whales' stomachs, sometimes forming large masses. By studying these beaks, scientists have been able to estimate the size and abundance of the squid that the whales are eating, and the results are staggering. In some studies, over 70% of the stomach contents of sperm whales have been found to consist of squid. A single sperm whale can eat over 1,000 squid in a single day. And a significant proportion of those squid are large, deep-sea species, including the giant and colossal squid. This means that the deep ocean contains a population of large squid that is large enough to support a population of sperm whales. The squid are not rare. They are abundant. But they live in a world that we cannot see, at depths that we cannot easily reach, and they have managed to remain hidden from us even as they are being consumed by the thousands. The first intact specimen of a colossal squid was not recovered until 1981. It was caught by a fishing trawler in the Ross Sea off the coast of Antarctica. The specimen was a juvenile, only about 4 meters long, but it was enough to confirm that this was a distinct species from the giant squid. Since then, a handful of other specimens have been recovered. The most famous was caught in 2007, also in the Ross Sea, by a New Zealand fishing vessel. This specimen was a mature female, the largest intact colossal squid ever found. It measured 10 meters in length and weighed over 450 kilograms. It was frozen and transported to the Museum of New Zealand Te Papa Tongarewa in Wellington, where it was studied by scientists and put on display. The examination of this specimen revealed details about the colossal squid that had never been seen before. Its eyes were enormous, even larger than those of the giant squid. Its beak was massive, capable of delivering a bite that could sever a human arm, and its hooks were arranged in a pattern that suggested a highly specialized method of attack. But perhaps the most surprising discovery was the squid's age. By studying the growth rings in its statoliths, the small calcium carbonate structures that function as balance organs, scientists were able to estimate that the specimen was only about 2 years old when it was caught. 2 years old. In just 2 years, this squid had grown to over 450 kilograms, making it one of the fastest-growing large animals on Earth. This rapid growth rate suggests that the colossal squid has a life cycle that is very different from that of the giant squid. While the giant squid may live for several years, the colossal squid appears to grow and mature much more quickly. It reaches sexual maturity in just a few years, mates, and then likely dies shortly after reproducing. This is a strategy known as semelparity, and it is common among cephalopods. The colossal squid, it seems, lives fast and dies young. But the details of its life cycle, its mating behavior, its migration patterns, all of these remain unknown. We have only a handful of specimens to study. We have never seen a colossal squid alive in its natural habitat. We have never observed it hunting, mating, or giving birth. The colossal squid remains in almost every important respect a mystery, and yet we know that it is there. We know because the sperm whales tell us so. Every time a sperm whale dives into the abyss and returns with the scars of battle on its skin, it is telling us that the colossal squid is down there, waiting, hunting, living its life in a world that we cannot enter. Let us consider what it must be like to be a colossal squid. Imagine yourself at a depth of over 1,000 meters. The water temperature is near freezing. There is no light. The pressure is over 100 times that at the surface. You are floating in an expanse of darkness that extends in every direction, farther than you can perceive. You are alone. You have been alone for most of your life. You drift, conserving energy, waiting for the faint bioluminescent flash of prey to appear in the distance. And then you sense something. A vibration in the water. A sound so low and so powerful that it travels through your entire body. It is the echolocation click of a sperm whale. You know what it means. It means a predator larger than you, faster than you, more powerful than you, is searching for you. It means that in a matter of moments, a massive jaw will close around your body, and you will be dragged into the darkness of a whale's stomach to be digested alive. Or you fight. You use your hooks. You dig them into the whale's skin, trying to hold on, trying to escape. You use your beak to bite. You thrash and twist and tear, and sometimes you win. Sometimes the whale retreats, and you drift away into the darkness, carrying new scars of your own. But often, you do not win. Often the whale's bite is too powerful, its grip too strong, and you become another meal, another source of energy for the largest predator on Earth. This is the life of a colossal squid. A life of darkness, solitude, and occasional violent conflict. It is a life that we can barely imagine. Take a breath. Let the image of that deep-sea battle form in your mind. The whale, massive and dark, descending through the abyss. The squid, armed with hooks, waiting in the darkness. The collision of two titans in a world that has never seen light. That battle is happening right now, somewhere in the ocean below you. It has been happening for millions of years, and we are only just beginning to understand it. But the story of the giant and colossal squid is not the only story of deep-sea Leviathans. There are other giants in the darkness. Some of them are even stranger. Let us descend further. There is a phenomenon in the deep ocean that biologists call abyssal gigantism, or deep-sea gigantism. It is the tendency for certain species of invertebrates to grow to much larger sizes in the deep ocean than their shallow water relatives. The giant and colossal squid are the most famous examples, but they are far from the only ones. Consider the giant isopod. Its scientific name is Bathynomus giganteus. On the surface, its relatives are the woodlice that you might find under a rock in your garden, small creatures barely 2 centimeters long. But in the deep ocean, the isopod grows to a size that seems almost absurd. The giant isopod can reach lengths of over 50 centimeters, nearly half a meter. It looks like a woodlouse that has been scaled up to the size of a small dog. The giant isopod lives on the seafloor at depths of between 200 and 2,000 meters. It is a scavenger, feeding on the carcasses of fish and whales that fall from the surface. It has a hard, segmented exoskeleton that protects it from predators, and 7 pairs of legs that allow it to crawl across the sediment. When threatened, it can roll itself into a ball, like its terrestrial cousins, presenting only its armored back to the attacker. But what is most remarkable about the giant isopod is not its size. It is the way it survives. The deep ocean is a food desert. Meals are rare and unpredictable. The giant isopod has adapted to this scarcity by developing the ability to go for long periods without eating. When food is available, it gorges itself, consuming as much as it can. When food is scarce, it slows its metabolism to a crawl, conserving energy until the next meal arrives. There are reports of giant isopods in captivity surviving for over 5 years without eating. 5 years. Imagine waiting 5 years between meals. That is the reality of life in the deep ocean. And then there is the Japanese spider crab, Macrochaera campheri. It is not a true deep-sea creature, living at depths of up to 600 meters, but it is a giant of the ocean floor. Its leg span can reach over 3.5 meters from claw to claw. That is wider than a car is long. Its body is relatively small, only about 40 centimeters across, but its legs extend outward like the arms of a giant spider. The Japanese spider crab is a scavenger and a predator, feeding on dead animals and slow-moving prey. It lives on the seafloor where its long legs allow it to cover large areas in search of food. Its shell is covered in bumps and protrusions that provide camouflage, allowing it to blend in with the rocky seafloor. But perhaps the most extreme example of deep-sea gigantism is not a crab or an isopod. It is a sea spider. The sea spiders, or pycnogonids, are a group of marine arthropods that look exactly like their namesakes. They have long, thin legs and a small body, and they walk across the seafloor on stilt-like limbs. In shallow water, they are small, barely a few centimeters across. In the deep ocean, they can grow to over 50 centimeters in leg span. The deep-sea sea spider is a predator of soft-bodied animals like sea anemones and hydroids. It uses its long legs to probe crevices and reach into spaces that other predators cannot access. Its body is so small and its legs so long that it looks almost like a skeleton, a ghostly creature walking across the abyssal plain. Why do these creatures grow so large? What is it about the deep ocean that causes gigantism? Scientists have proposed several theories. One theory is that the cold temperatures of the deep ocean slow down the metabolism of cold-blooded animals, allowing them to grow larger over a longer period of time. Another theory is that the high pressure of the deep ocean affects the way cells divide and grow, leading to larger body sizes. A third theory is that the scarcity of food in the deep ocean favors animals that can grow larger and store more energy, allowing them to survive longer between meals. But none of these theories fully explains the phenomenon. Deep-sea gigantism remains a mystery, one of many mysteries that the deep ocean holds. What we do know is that gigantism is not random. It affects certain groups of animals more than others. Cephalopods, crustaceans, and some types of worms are more likely to exhibit gigantism than fish or mammals. This suggests that there is something about the physiology of these animals that allows them to take advantage of the conditions in the deep ocean in a way that other animals cannot. For the giant squid and the colossal squid, gigantism may be a response to the presence of the sperm whale. If you are going to be hunted by the largest predator on Earth, it helps to be as large as possible. A larger squid is a more formidable opponent, more capable of defending itself against a whale's attack. And a larger squid can also produce more offspring. increasing the chances that its genes will be passed on to the next generation. This is known as the arms race hypothesis. The idea is that the sperm whale and the giant squid have been evolving together for millions of years, each one pushing the other to become larger and more powerful. The whale evolved to be a deep-diving giant, capable of hunting in the abyss. The squid evolved to be a giant of the deep, capable of defending itself against the whale. And this evolutionary arms race has produced two of the most remarkable animals on Earth. But the arms race hypothesis is just one explanation. There may be other factors at play. The truth is that we do not yet understand why some deep-sea animals grow so large. And this uncertainty is part of what makes the study of deep-sea gigantism so fascinating. Let us pause for a moment. Let your mind drift with the currents of the deep. Imagine the giant isopod crawling across the seafloor, its legs moving slowly, deliberately, conserving energy. Imagine the Japanese spider crab, its legs spanning wider than a car, picking its way through the rubble of the continental slope. Imagine the sea spider, ghostly and thin, probing the crevices of a cold seep community. These are the giants of the deep. They are not the monsters of our imagination. They are real creatures adapted to a world that we can barely comprehend. And they are just the beginning. Because the deep ocean holds giants of another kind. Giants that have been seen by almost no one. Giants that exist only in the fragments of stories, in the scars on whales, in the unexplained sounds that echo through the abyss. Let us continue our descent. The Kraken. The name itself carries weight. It comes from the Norwegian language, from an old word meaning something twisted or unhealthy. The Kraken was described in the earliest Scandinavian folklore as a massive sea creature that could drag ships and sailors to their doom. It was said to be so large that when it surfaced, it was mistaken for an island. Sailors would land on its back, light fires, and only realize their mistake when the creature began to sink beneath the waves. These stories are not unique to Scandinavia. Almost every maritime culture in human history has its own version of the giant sea monster. The ancient Greeks told of the Ketos, a massive serpent or sea creature that was sent by Poseidon to terrorize the coasts. The Norse spoke of the Midgard serpent, Jormungandr, which was so large that it encircled the entire world. The Japanese have the Shachihoko, a giant fish-like creature with the head of a tiger. The Inuit have stories of the Aglulik, a giant squid-like creature that lived under the ice. For centuries, these stories were dismissed as myth, as the exaggerated tales of superstitious sailors who had spent too long at sea. But, as we have learned more about the deep ocean, we have begun to realize that many of these myths may have been based on real encounters. Consider the Kraken of Norwegian folklore. The descriptions of the Kraken match the giant squid in several important ways. The Kraken was said to have long, powerful arms that could reach above the surface and pull a man from a boat. The giant squid has tentacles that can reach over 10 meters in length, and there are historical accounts of sailors being pulled from their vessels by large squid. The Kraken was said to create dangerous whirlpools when it sank back beneath the surface. The giant squid, when it swims, creates vortices in the water that could easily be mistaken for whirlpools by a sailor in a small boat. The Kraken was said to have a strong, unpleasant odor, which meant that sailors could sometimes smell it before they saw it. The giant squid, when it decomposes, produces a powerful smell of ammonia. This is because the squid uses ammonia to maintain its buoyancy. The ammonia is stored in its tissues, giving it a distinctive, pungent odor that would have been noticeable to anyone who encountered a dead or dying specimen. The Kraken was also said to be associated with an abundance of fish. Fishermen would sometimes see the Kraken and then catch large numbers of fish in the same area. This detail matches the behavior of the giant squid. The giant squid lives in the same waters as many species of fish, and its presence would indicate a productive fishing ground. A fisherman who saw a giant squid and then caught many fish would naturally connect the two events. But the most compelling connection between the Kraken and the giant squid is the description of the creature's massive eyes. The word Kraken itself may be related to the Old Norse word for a twisted or crooked tree, but the descriptions of the creature always emphasize its large, glowing eyes. The giant squid has the largest eyes of any animal on Earth, and they are capable of detecting the faintest bioluminescent light in the deep ocean. A dying giant squid at the surface, its eyes still open, would have been a terrifying sight for anyone who saw it. So it seems likely that the Kraken of Scandinavian folklore was, at least in part, inspired by the giant squid. The stories may have been embellished over time, as stories always are, but the core of the legend was rooted in real encounters with a real animal. But the kraken is not the only sea monster of myth that may have a basis in reality. Consider the sea serpent. Stories of giant serpents that rise from the ocean and attack ships have been told for thousands of years. The most famous of these stories comes from the Bible, where the Leviathan is described as a massive, fire-breathing sea creature. But similar stories can be found in the folklore of almost every maritime culture. The sea serpent may be based on the oarfish. The oarfish is a deep-sea fish that can grow to over 10 meters in length. It has a long, ribbon-like body, a crest of red spines on its head, and a silvery, reflective skin. When it is seen at the surface, it is usually dying, and its serpentine movements as it thrashes in the water would easily be mistaken for a sea serpent. The oarfish lives at depths of between 200 and 1,000 meters, but it occasionally surfaces when it is sick or injured. Its appearance at the surface has been linked to earthquakes and other geological disturbances, leading to the belief that the oarfish is a harbinger of disaster. In Japan, the oarfish is known as the Ryugu no Tsukai, the messenger from the palace of the dragon god, and its appearance is said to predict earthquakes. But the oarfish is not a serpent. It is a fish, a member of the family Regalicidae. It has gills, not lungs. It has scales, not skin. It is not a reptile. It is not a snake. But its appearance when seen from a distance is remarkably serpent-like. And then there are the stories of giant octopuses. In the 19th century, French naturalist Pierre Denis de Montfort proposed that a giant octopus was responsible for the sinking of several ships in the Atlantic. He called it the colossal octopus, or the giant devilfish. His theory was dismissed by most of his contemporaries, but it was based on real accounts of encounters with large octopuses at sea. Today we know that there is a giant species of octopus in the North Pacific, the Enteroctopus doflani, or the giant Pacific octopus. It can have an arm span of over 6 meters and weigh over 50 kilograms. But even this giant is small compared to the mythical giant octopus of de Montfort's imagination. There is no evidence that any octopus species grows large enough to attack a ship, but there is evidence that some octopuses can grow to surprising sizes. In 2007, a team of researchers in the Antarctic captured a large octopus that had never been seen before. They called it the seven-arm octopus, or Halophron atlanticus. This species was known from only a few specimens, but the one captured by the researchers was over 4 meters long and weighed over 60 kilograms. It was one of the largest octopuses ever recorded. The seven-arm octopus lives at depths of between 500 and 2,000 meters. It is a deep-sea predator, feeding on jellyfish and other soft-bodied animals. Its name comes from the fact that males have a specialized arm that is used for reproduction and is kept hidden in a pouch, giving the appearance of having only 7 arms. But even the seven-arm octopus is not a ship killer. It is a specialized deep-sea predator, adapted to a world of darkness and cold. It is not a monster. It is a marvel of evolution. So what do we make of the old stories? Were the sailors who described giant sea monsters simply lying? Or did they see something real? The evidence suggests that many of the old sea monster stories were based on real encounters with real animals, filtered through the lens of fear, superstition, and the limitations of human observation. A giant squid at the surface, thrashing in its death throes, would have been a terrifying sight to a sailor who had no concept of deep-sea biology. An oarfish, its long body undulating in the water, would have been easily mistaken for a sea serpent. A giant octopus, its arms reaching out of the water, would have been a horrific vision. The old sailors were not lying. They were describing what they saw as best they could with the language and understanding available to them. And we, with our modern science, can now look back at those descriptions and recognize the real animals behind the myths. But there is something else at work here. Something deeper. The myths of sea monsters are not just misidentifications of real animals. They are expressions of a fundamental human fear. The fear of the unknown, the fear of what lies beneath the surface, the fear of the deep. The ocean is vast and dark and alien. It is a world that we were not designed to inhabit. And when we look into its depths, we project our fears onto it. We imagine monsters. We imagine Leviathans. We imagine things that could drag us down into the darkness. And sometimes those imaginings turn out to be real. Take a breath. Let the weight of that thought settle. The monsters of our myths are not just stories. They are shadows of real animals, animals that we are only now beginning to understand. Let us continue our journey into the deep. If the giant squid is the most famous deep-sea leviathan, then the sperm whale is its greatest hunter. And the sperm whale itself is a creature of almost unbelievable extremes. To understand the sperm whale, you must first understand what it means to be a mammal that dives into the abyss. The sperm whale is a mammal, just like us. It breathes air. It is warm-blooded. It gives birth to live young and nurses them with milk. And yet it spends most of its life in a world that would kill a human being in seconds. A sperm whale can dive to depths of over 2,000 meters, more than 1.25 miles below the surface. It can hold its breath for up to 90 minutes. It can descend at speeds of over 100 meters per minute and ascend at even faster rates. The pressure at the bottom of its dive is over 200 times that at the surface, enough to crush any human-made submarine that is not specifically designed to withstand it. How does the sperm whale survive these dives? The answer lies in a series of remarkable adaptations that have evolved over millions of years. First, the sperm whale's lungs are collapsible. When it dives, its ribs fold inward, compressing its lungs and forcing the air into its trachea and nasal passages. This prevents the nitrogen in the air from being absorbed into its bloodstream, which would cause decompression sickness, or the bends when it surfaces. The sperm whale effectively turns its lungs off during a dive, relying on the oxygen stored in its muscles and blood. Second, the sperm whale's blood is rich in hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen. Its muscles are rich in myoglobin, another oxygen-carrying protein. In fact, the sperm whale has the highest concentration of myoglobin of any animal on Earth. Its muscles are so dark they are almost black, packed with oxygen that can be released slowly during a long dive. Third, the sperm whale has an enormous liver, which stores oxygen-rich blood and releases it gradually during the dive. Its heart rate slows to just a few beats per minute, conserving oxygen for the brain and other vital organs. Its blood vessels constrict, redirecting blood flow away from non-essential tissues and toward the brain and heart. But the most remarkable adaptation of the sperm whale is its head. The sperm whale's head makes up about 1/3 of its total body length. It is filled with a large barrel-shaped organ called the spermaceti organ, which contains a waxy oil called spermaceti. This organ is the source of the whale's name. Early whalers thought the spermaceti was the whale's semen, but it is actually a specialized oil that plays a crucial role in the whale's diving ability. The spermaceti organ is surrounded by complex muscles and connective tissues. By controlling the flow of blood to the organ, the whale can change the density of the spermaceti, allowing it to achieve neutral buoyancy at different depths. When the whale wants to dive, it cools the spermaceti, making it denser and helping it sink. When it wants to ascend, it warms the spermaceti, making it less dense and helping it rise. This system allows the sperm whale to dive and ascend with minimal energy expenditure. It is like having a built-in buoyancy control device, allowing the whale to glide through the depths without wasting precious oxygen. But the spermaceti organ has another function. It is also the whale's primary sonar system. The sperm whale uses a series of clicks, generated by passing air through its nasal passages, to navigate and hunt in the darkness of the deep ocean. These clicks are among the loudest sounds produced by any animal on Earth, reaching over 230 decibels. They are focused by the spermaceti organ into a narrow beam, which the whale can direct at its prey. When the click hits an object, like a squid, it bounces back as an echo. The whale hears this echo through its jaw, which is specially adapted to transmit sound to its inner ear. By analyzing the timing and intensity of the echo, the whale can determine the size, distance, and even the internal structure of its prey. This is called echolocation, and it is one of the most sophisticated sensory systems in the animal kingdom. Imagine being a giant squid, floating in the darkness at a depth of 1,000 meters. You are blind in the sense that you cannot see, but you can detect light. You can sense vibrations. You can feel changes in pressure. And then, suddenly, you hear it. A click. A sound so loud and so sharp that it seems to pass right through you. And you know, instantly, that you have been found. The sperm whale's click is not just a sound. It is a weapon. At close range, the intensity of the click can stun or even kill prey. Some researchers believe that the sperm whale uses its clicks to disorient squid, making them easier to catch. The squid, in turn, may use its own bioluminescence to confuse the whale, flashing and counter-illuminating to break up its silhouette. This is the deep-sea arms race in action. The whale evolves better echolocation. The squid evolves better countermeasures. The whale evolves louder clicks. The squid evolves tougher skin. The whale evolves faster dives. The squid evolves longer tentacles. On and on it goes, each species pushing the other to new extremes. And the result is a battle that takes place in total darkness, at pressures that would kill any surface animal, between two of the most remarkable creatures on Earth. We have never seen this battle. We have only seen its aftermath, the scars on the whales, the beaks in their stomachs, the occasional piece of a whale that washes ashore with the marks of a squid's hooks still visible on its skin. But we know it happens. We know because the evidence is there, written in the flesh of both animals. The sperm whale is the ultimate deep-sea predator, and the giant squid and the colossal squid are its ultimate prey. There is a famous story from 1965 when a Soviet whaling ship operating in the waters off the coast of Chile harpooned a large sperm whale. As the whale was being hauled aboard, the crew noticed something unusual. There was something wrapped around the whale's head. Something large. It was a squid. A massive squid. Its arms wrapped around the whale's body, its tentacles entangled in the whale's jaw. The squid had been attacking the whale when the harpoon struck, and it had held on even as the whale was being pulled to the surface. The crew managed to recover both the whale and the squid. The squid was measured at over 10 meters in length. It was a giant squid, and it had been locked in combat with the whale when both were killed. This story has been repeated many times, and it has become one of the most famous anecdotes in the lore of the giant squid. It is a testament to the ferocity of these battles and to the determination of the squid to defend itself even against a predator many times its size. But scientists have questioned the accuracy of this story. Some have suggested that the squid was not attacking the whale, but was simply clinging to it in a desperate attempt to escape being eaten. Others have pointed out that the squid was likely already dead when the whale was harpooned, and that the entanglement was a coincidence. Whatever the truth of this particular story, the overall picture is clear. Sperm whales and giant squid are locked in a predator-prey relationship that has shaped the evolution of both species. They are two titans of the deep, engaged in a struggle that has been going on for millions of years. And we, the surface dwellers, can only watch from a distance, piecing together the evidence of their conflict from the fragments they leave behind. Let us take a moment to appreciate the scale of what we are discussing. A sperm whale, the largest toothed predator on Earth, diving into the abyss to hunt a creature with the largest eyes and the most dangerous hooks in the animal kingdom. A battle in absolute darkness, at depths that would crush any surface vessel. A struggle for survival between two giants of the deep, and this is not a rare event. It happens every day. Hundreds of times a day, somewhere in the ocean, a sperm whale is diving into the darkness in search of squid. And somewhere in the darkness, a giant squid is waiting. Let us breathe. Let the image settle. The whale descending, the squid drifting, the click, the flash, the strike, then silence, and the darkness closing in again. This is the deep ocean. This is the world we are exploring tonight. Now let us turn to the other Leviathans of the deep, the ones that are less famous but no less remarkable. The Greenland shark is one of the most extraordinary animals on Earth. It lives in the cold, deep waters of the North Atlantic and the Arctic Ocean. It can grow to over 6 meters in length and weigh over 1,000 kilograms. But its size is not what makes it remarkable. What makes it remarkable is its longevity. The Greenland shark is the longest living vertebrate on Earth. Scientists have estimated that some Greenland sharks may be over 400 years old. 400 years. That means that a Greenland shark alive today could have been born during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. It could have been swimming in the icy waters of the Arctic when Isaac Newton was developing his laws of motion. It could have been alive when the United States was founded. How do we know this? By studying the shark's eye lenses. The lenses of the Greenland shark are composed of proteins that do not degrade over time. By analyzing the levels of carbon-14, a radioactive isotope that was released into the atmosphere by nuclear weapons testing in the 1950s and 1960s, scientists can determine the age of the shark. The highest levels of carbon-14 are found in sharks that were alive during the testing period. Sharks with lower levels were born before or after. This technique has revealed that the Greenland shark grows at an incredibly slow rate, about 1 centimeter per year. A large shark, over 5 meters long, would be at least 250 years old. The oldest specimens may be over 400. But there is a mystery surrounding the Greenland shark. Despite being one of the largest predators in the Arctic, it moves at an incredibly slow speed. Its typical swimming speed is less than 1 kilometer per hour. It is a slow, lumbering giant, drifting through the cold waters like a living relic. How does such a slow-moving animal catch prey? This question has puzzled scientists for years. Some have suggested that the Greenland shark is a scavenger, feeding on the carcasses of seals and whales that sink to the seafloor. Others have proposed that it is an ambush predator, using its dark coloration to blend in with the seafloor and surprise passing prey. But the most intriguing theory is that the Greenland shark preys on sleeping seals. Seals sometimes sleep in the water, floating near the surface, or resting on the seafloor. A slow-moving shark could approach a sleeping seal without waking it and strike before the seal has a chance to escape. This theory is supported by the discovery of seal remains in the stomachs of Greenland sharks, but it has not been confirmed by direct observation. Like so much of the deep ocean, the hunting behavior of the Greenland shark remains a mystery. The Greenland shark has another remarkable adaptation. Its tissues contain high levels of trimethylamine N-oxide, or TMAO, a compound that stabilizes proteins under high pressure and low temperature. This compound makes the shark's flesh toxic to most animals, including humans. Eating fresh Greenland shark meat can cause symptoms similar to extreme intoxication, including hallucinations and paralysis. In Iceland, the shark is prepared by a process of fermentation and drying that removes the toxins, resulting in a dish called hakarl, which is considered a delicacy by some and a horror by others. But for the Greenland shark, TMAO is essential for survival. It allows the shark to live in the cold, high-pressure environment of the deep Arctic waters. It is a biochemical adaptation that has allowed this ancient animal to thrive in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. And then there is the frilled shark. The frilled shark, Chlamydocelicus anguineus, is a living fossil. It belongs to a family of sharks that first appeared in the fossil record over 80 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period. It has changed very little since then, earning it the nickname the living dinosaur. The frilled shark gets its name from the 6 pairs of gill slits that line its throat, which are covered in a frilly fringed tissue. These gill slits are unlike those of other sharks, which have 5 pairs of gill slits that are not frilled. The frilled shark's gills give it a primitive, almost prehistoric appearance. The frilled shark lives at depths of between 200 and 1,500 meters. It is rarely seen by humans. Most of what we know about it comes from specimens that are accidentally caught by fishing trawlers or that wash ashore dead. The frilled shark has a long, eel-like body that can grow to over 2 meters in length. It has a large mouth filled with rows of backward-curving teeth which are designed to trap and hold prey. Unlike most sharks, which have teeth arranged in rows, the frilled shark's teeth are arranged in complex, multi-cusped patterns that allow it to catch and swallow prey whole. The frilled shark is a deep-sea predator, feeding on other sharks, squid, and bony fish. Its long, flexible body allows it to twist and turn in the tight spaces of the deep ocean, and its wide mouth allows it to swallow prey that are nearly as large as itself. There have been very few sightings of the frilled shark alive in its natural habitat. In 2007, a Japanese fisherman captured a live frilled shark and brought it to a marine park, where it was filmed before it died. The footage shows a creature that looks like something from another era. Its body undulating like a snake, its mouth opening and closing with a slow, deliberate rhythm. The frilled shark is a reminder that the deep ocean is a museum of ancient life. It preserves species that have survived mass extinctions and climate changes, species that have remained unchanged for tens of millions of years. And then there is the goblin shark. The goblin shark, Mitsukurina ostoni, is another living fossil. It is the only surviving member of the family Mitsukurinidae, which dates back over 125 million years. The goblin shark is one of the strangest looking fish in the ocean. It has a long, flattened snout that looks like a blade, and a jaw that can extend forward to catch prey. When the goblin shark attacks, its jaw shoots outward, creating a suction force that pulls prey into its mouth. This is called jaw protrusion, and it is one of the fastest movements in the animal kingdom. The goblin shark lives at depths of between 200 and 1,300 meters. It is rarely seen, and most of what we know about it comes from specimens that are accidentally caught by fishing trawlers. Its pinkish white skin and its elongated snout give it a ghostly appearance, earning it the name goblin shark. The goblin shark feeds on deep-sea fish, squid, and crustaceans. Its teeth are long and needle-like, designed for grasping and holding rather than cutting. When its jaw extends, it creates a vacuum that pulls prey into its mouth, and the teeth hold the prey in place while the shark swallows it whole. The goblin shark is a slow-moving passive hunter. It drifts through the water, using its long snout to detect the electrical fields of its prey. When it senses something, it extends its jaw with lightning speed, capturing the prey before it can escape. These three sharks, the Greenland shark, the frilled shark, and the goblin shark, are all living fossils. They are remnants of ancient lineages that have survived the great extinctions that wiped out the dinosaurs and reshaped the world. They are living links to the deep past, and they exist in the deep ocean today, in the darkness below us. But they are not the only living fossils in the deep. There is also the coelacanth. The coelacanth is a fish that was thought to have gone extinct 66 million years ago at the end of the Cretaceous period. It was known only from fossils. And then, in 1938, a living coelacanth was caught by a fishing trawler off the coast of South Africa. The discovery of the living coelacanth was one of the most astonishing moments in the history of marine biology. It was as if a dinosaur had been found alive in a remote jungle. The coelacanth was a fish from the age of the dinosaurs, and it was still swimming in the deep ocean. The coelacanth lives at depths of between 100 and 500 meters in the waters off the coast of East Africa and Indonesia. It is a large fish, growing to over 2 meters in length and weighing up to 100 kilograms. It has a distinctive lobed fin structure that suggests a close evolutionary relationship to the first land-dwelling vertebrates. The coelacanth is a slow-moving, passive predator. It drifts through the water, using its lobed fins to maneuver with precision. It feeds on small fish and squid, and it uses a specialized organ in its snout to detect the electrical fields of its prey. The discovery of the coelacanth changed the way scientists think about extinction and survival. It showed that species can persist for millions of years in the deep ocean, hidden from human view, surviving the great catastrophes that reshaped the surface world. The deep ocean, then, is not just a frontier of new species. It is also a refuge for ancient ones. It is a place where time moves more slowly, where change is gradual, and where the old ways of life can persist long after they have disappeared from the surface. So when we talk about Leviathans and deep-sea mysteries, we are not just talking about the giant squid. We are talking about a whole community of ancient, mysterious creatures that have survived in the darkness for millions of years. Take a breath. Let these images settle. The Greenland shark, 400 years old, swimming slowly through the icy waters of the Arctic. The frilled shark, a living dinosaur, its frilled gills rippling in the current. The goblin shark, its jaws shooting forward to capture prey in a fraction of a second. The coelacanth, a fish from the time of the dinosaurs, still swimming in the deep. These are the Leviathans of the deep, and they are just the ones we know about. Let us think about the ones we have not yet found. In 1997, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, detected a sound in the Pacific Ocean that defied explanation. It was an ultra-low frequency sound, extremely powerful, picked up by hydrophones thousands of kilometers apart. The sound was so loud that it could be heard across an entire ocean basin, and it did not match any known geological event, any known animal, or any human-made source. The sound was named the bloop, and for years, it was the most famous unexplained sound in the ocean. The bloop was recorded by the Equatorial Pacific Ocean Autonomous Hydrophone Array, a network of underwater microphones that was originally designed to detect Soviet submarines during the Cold War. After the Cold War ended, the array was repurposed for scientific research, monitoring underwater earthquakes, volcanic activity, and the movements of marine animals. When the bloop was detected, scientists were baffled. The sound was too loud to be made by any known animal. It was too low in frequency to be made by a geological event. It was too structured to be random noise. It seemed to have a source, a direction, and a pattern. Theories about the source of the bloop ranged from the plausible to the extraordinary. Some scientists suggested that it might be the sound of an ice shelf breaking apart in Antarctica. Others proposed that it might be a new type of underwater volcano. And then there were the more speculative theories. The bloop, some argued, could be the sound of a giant marine animal, a creature larger than any known species living in the deep ocean. The idea of a creature large enough to produce a sound that could be heard across an entire ocean was both thrilling and terrifying. It suggested that there might be something in the deep ocean that we had not yet discovered, something larger than a blue whale, something that had been hiding from us in the darkness. In 2005, NOAA announced that the source of the bloop had been identified. It was not a creature, it was ice. The sound was caused by the breaking and cracking of a large ice shelf in Antarctica, specifically the breakup of ice shelves that had been frozen for centuries. The sound of ice cracking, amplified by the deep sound channel of the ocean, had produced the distinctive signature that had baffled scientists for years. But not everyone was convinced. Some researchers argued that the ice explanation did not fully account for the characteristics of the sound. The bloop, they pointed out, had a structure that seemed organized, almost biological. It did not sound like random cracking and breaking. It sounded like something else. The bloop remains a controversial topic in some circles, but the official explanation, that it was caused by ice, is the one that is most widely accepted by the scientific community. However, the bloop is not the only unexplained sound in the ocean. There are others. In 1999, NOAA detected a sound that they called Julia. It was a long, wavering sound, like a moan, that lasted for about 15 seconds. It was recorded in the Pacific Ocean at a latitude of about 15 degrees south, and like the bloop, it did not match any known source. Julia was eventually attributed to the movement of an Antarctic iceberg, but the explanation was not as clear-cut as the bloops. Some researchers have suggested that Julia might have been the sound of a large marine animal, perhaps a whale or a giant squid. But no definitive answer has been found. And then there is the sound called the slowdown. It was recorded in 1997, the same year as the bloop, and it was even more mysterious. The slowdown was a sound that changed in frequency over time, as if it were being produced by a moving source. It sounded like an engine slowing down, or like a large animal calling in the deep. The slowdown was eventually attributed to the movement of a large iceberg, but the explanation was not entirely satisfactory. The sound had a rhythm and a pattern that seemed too regular to be caused by the random movement of ice. These unexplained sounds are a reminder of how little we know about the deep ocean. The ocean is filled with sounds that we have not yet identified, sounds that could be made by animals we have not yet discovered. Hydrophones placed in the deep ocean have recorded a symphony of strange noises, many of which remain unexplained. There is the sound of the Western Pacific biotwang, a 5-part call that sounds like a deep moan, followed by a high-pitched metallic twang. It was recorded in the Mariana Trench, and it is believed to be made by a species of whale, but no one has ever seen the animal that makes it. There is the sound of the Pacific Chorus, a series of overlapping calls that have been recorded in the waters off the coast of Hawaii. Scientists have identified some of the calls as belonging to specific species of whales and fish, but others remain unidentified. There is the upsweep, a sound that rises in frequency over time, like a whistle. It has been recorded since the 1990s, and its source has never been identified. It may be caused by volcanic activity on the seafloor, or it may be something else entirely. And there is the train. The train is a sound that was recorded by a hydrophone in the Pacific Ocean. It sounds exactly like a train rumbling along a track, complete with the rhythmic clacking of wheels on rails. It is heard most often in the spring and autumn, and it has been recorded for years. No one knows what makes it. These sounds are not just curiosities. They are evidence. They are proof that the deep ocean is alive with activity that we cannot see. Every unexplained sound is a potential clue to an unknown animal, an unknown process, an unknown world. And the most exciting possibility is that some of these sounds may be made by animals that we have not yet discovered. Animals larger than any known species. Animals that have been hiding in the deep ocean for millions of years, Is it possible that a giant squid, larger than any we have found, is still swimming in the depths? Is it possible that there is a creature larger than a blue whale, a true Leviathan that has never been seen by human eyes? The answer is that we do not know. The deep ocean is so vast, so poorly explored, that it could easily hide animals of enormous size. We have explored less than 20% of the ocean floor. We have sent humans to the deepest point in the ocean only a handful of times. There are entire mountain ranges on the seafloor that have never been mapped. There are trenches and canyons and abyssal plains that have never been seen. The possibility of undiscovered giants is not a fantasy. It is a scientific hypothesis, supported by the evidence of unexplained sounds, unconfirmed sightings, and the simple fact that the deep ocean is the largest and least explored habitat on Earth. But there is another possibility, one that is equally fascinating. The giants of the deep may not be animals at all. They may be something else, something that we have not yet imagined. Let us consider the possibility of a living fossil, a species that we thought had gone extinct millions of years ago, still surviving in the deep. We have already discussed the coelacanth, which was thought to be extinct until it was rediscovered in 1938. But there could be others. There could be species that we know only from the fossil record, species that have persisted in the deep ocean for millions of years, hidden from our view. The megalodon, a giant shark that lived during the Miocene and Pliocene epochs, is often cited as a candidate for rediscovery. The megalodon was one of the largest predators in Earth's history, reaching lengths of over 15 meters. It was a giant, and it went extinct about 3.5 million years ago. Or did it? Some researchers have proposed that the megalodon may have survived in the deep ocean, where the cold temperatures and abundant prey could have allowed it to persist. They point to the occasional discovery of megalodon teeth that appear to be relatively recent, as evidence that the species may still exist. But the scientific consensus is that the megalodon is extinct. The deep ocean could not support a predator of its size. The food supply is too scarce. The temperatures are too cold. The megalodon, if it existed today, would need to consume thousands of kilograms of food every day. There is simply not enough prey in the deep ocean to support a population of megalodons. And yet, the idea persists. It persists because we want it to be true. We want to believe that there are still giants in the deep, that the ocean still holds secrets that can surprise us. But the truth is already surprising enough. The deep ocean contains animals that are just as remarkable as any mythical creature. The giant squid, the colossal squid, the Greenland shark, the frilled shark, the coelacanth. These are real animals, and they are every bit as strange and wonderful as the monsters of our imagination. And there are undoubtedly more to be discovered. Every year, new species are found in the deep ocean. Every year, our understanding of the deep is expanded. The Leviathans of the deep are not a myth. They are a reality, and we are only beginning to meet them. Let us breathe. Let our minds drift with the currents of the deep, the sound of the unknown echoing through the abyss, the possibility of discovery waiting in the darkness. Take a slow breath. Let your body relax. Let your mind open. We are descending deeper now, into the realm of pure mystery. The Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the ancient Greek god of the underworld. It is the deepest region of the ocean, starting at about 6,000 meters and extending to the bottom of the deepest trenches. It is a world of absolute darkness, crushing pressure, and near-freezing temperatures. It is the most extreme environment on Earth, and it is the least explored. The Hadal Zone is not a single place. It is a collection of isolated deep-sea trenches, scattered across the ocean floor like scars on the planet's surface. There is the Mariana Trench, the deepest of them all, plunging to over 11,000 meters at its lowest point, the Challenger Deep. There is the Tonga Trench, the Kermadec Trench, the Philippine Trench, the Japan Trench, the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, the Puerto Rico Trench, and many others. Each one is a unique environment, isolated from the others by thousands of kilometers of seafloor. For a long time, scientists believed that the Hadal Zone was a biological desert, The pressure is so extreme at these depths that it was thought to be impossible for complex life to survive. The pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is over 1,000 times that at the surface, equivalent to having 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of you. But as we have explored the Hadal Zone, we have discovered that it is not a desert. It is teeming with life. Not the life of the surface, but a unique community of organisms that have adapted to the extreme conditions of the deep. The most common animals in the Hadal Zone are amphipods. These are small, shrimp-like crustaceans that live in enormous numbers on the seafloor. They are scavengers, feeding on the organic matter that drifts down from above. In some trenches, the density of amphipods is so high that the seafloor appears to be moving, covered in a carpet of tiny creatures. But the amphipods of the Hadal Zone are not like their shallow water relatives. They have adapted to the extreme pressure by producing special proteins that stabilize their cellular structures. Their cell membranes are more fluid, allowing them to function under pressure that would solidify the membranes of surface animals. Their enzymes are more flexible, allowing them to catalyze reactions in the cold, high-pressure environment, and they have also adapted to the scarcity of food. The Hadal Zone is a food desert, and the amphipods have evolved to survive on whatever falls from above. They can go for long periods without eating, and when food is available, they consume it with astonishing efficiency. But the amphipods are not alone. There are fish in the Hadal Zone. The Hadal snailfish, also known as the Mariana snailfish, is the deepest living fish ever discovered. It has been found at depths of over 8,000 meters, and it is believed to be able to survive at even greater depths. The Hadal snailfish is a remarkable animal. It has a translucent, gelatinous body that is perfectly adapted to the extreme pressure. Its skeleton is made of soft cartilage rather than hard bone. Its muscles are thin and flexible. Its skin is loose and permeable. It has no swim bladder, the gas-filled organ that most fish use to control their buoyancy, because the pressure at these depths would collapse it instantly. Instead, the Hadal snailfish uses a combination of lipids and other compounds to maintain its buoyancy. It is a slow-moving, patient hunter, feeding on the small crustaceans and other animals that live on the seafloor. The Hadal snailfish is the deepest living vertebrate on Earth, but it is not the only fish in the Hadal Zone. There are other species of snailfish, as well as eel pouts and cusk eels, that live at extreme depths. Each one has evolved unique adaptations to survive in the high-pressure environment. But the Hadal Zone is not just a place of small animals. There are also giants. The supergiant amphipod, Alachella gigantea, is one of the most surprising discoveries in the history of deep-sea biology. It was first described in the late 19th century from a single specimen found in the stomach of a seabird. For over 100 years, it was thought to be a rarity, a curiosity with no ecological significance. Then, in the 1970s, scientists exploring the Kermadec Trench discovered that the supergiant amphipod was not rare at all. It was, in fact, one of the most abundant animals in the Hadal Zone, and it was enormous. The supergiant amphipod grows to over 30 centimeters in length. That is the size of a large lobster. It is a scavenger, feeding on the carcasses of fish and whales that fall to the seafloor. It lives at depths of between 7,000 and 10,000 meters in the deepest parts of the ocean. The supergiant amphipod is an example of deep-sea gigantism in action. Its shallow water relatives are tiny, barely a few centimeters long. But in the Hadal Zone, isolated by pressure and darkness, this amphipod has grown to an enormous size. And there are other giants in the Hadal Zone. The deep-sea isopod, Bathynomus, can grow to over 50 centimeters in length. The Hadal holothurians, or sea cucumbers, can grow to over 1 meter. The Hadal sea spiders, or pycnogonids, can have leg spans of over 50 centimeters. These are the giants of the Hadal Zone. They are not the monsters of our imagination. They are slow, patient creatures, adapted to a world of scarcity and darkness. But could there be larger animals in the Hadal Zone? Could there be fish larger than the Hadal snailfish? Could there be squid in the deepest trenches? The answer is that we do not know. We have explored only a tiny fraction of the Hadal Zone. We have sent humans to the bottom of the Mariana Trench only a handful of times. We have deployed robotic vehicles to a few other trenches, but the vast majority of the Hadal Zone remains unexplored. What we do know is that the Hadal Zone is not a uniform environment. Each trench is different, with its own unique chemistry, geology, and biology. The Mariana Trench, the deepest, is relatively well studied. But the Tonga Trench, the Kermadec Trench, and the others are much less understood. There is evidence that large animals may live in the Hadal Zone. sonar surveys have detected large moving objects at depths of over 9,000 meters. Fishing nets have been damaged by something large at extreme depths. And the stomachs of sperm whales have been found to contain the beaks of squid that are larger than any known species. Could there be a species of squid that lives in the Hadal Zone? A squid that has never been seen because it spends its entire life below the depths that we can easily explore? It is possible. The giant squid was thought to be a myth until we found it. The colossal squid was unknown until we pulled it from the deep. There could be other species, even larger, even stranger, waiting to be discovered. And if there are giant squid in the Hadal Zone, there might also be predators that hunt them. Could there be a species of whale that dives even deeper than the sperm whale? Could there be a new species of shark that is adapted to the extreme pressure of the Hadal Zone? These questions are not just speculation. They are scientific hypotheses based on the evidence that we have gathered from the deep ocean. And they are questions that we are only beginning to answer. Let us take a moment to appreciate the scale of the unknown. The Hadal Zone covers an area of the ocean floor that is roughly the size of Australia. It is a vast, unexplored wilderness, hidden beneath thousands of meters of water. It is the last true frontier on Earth, and beyond the Hadal Zone, there is the abyssal plain. The abyssal plain is the vast, flat expanse of the deep ocean floor, covering over half of the Earth's surface. It is the largest habitat on the planet, and it is almost entirely unexplored. In the abyssal plain, there are seamounts, underwater mountains that rise thousands of meters from the seafloor. These seamounts are islands of life in the desert of the deep, supporting communities of corals, sponges, and fish that are found nowhere else on Earth. In the abyssal plain, there are hydrothermal vents, chimneys of superheated water that support ecosystems based on chemosynthesis. These vents are oases in the desert, teeming with life that does not depend on the sun. In the abyssal plain, there are cold seeps, places where methane and other hydrocarbons seep from the seafloor, supporting communities of bacteria and animals that have adapted to live on the chemicals. And in the abyssal plain, there are polynyas, areas of open water surrounded by ice, where life flourishes in the otherwise frozen polar seas. Every one of these environments is a potential home for undiscovered species. Every one of them could harbor giants that we have not yet seen. Let us breathe. Let the vastness of the deep ocean fill our minds. The Hadal Zone, dark and cold and under unimaginable pressure. The abyssal plain, stretching across the planet like a submerged continent. The seamounts, rising like islands of life. The vents, the seeps, the polynyas. All of this is below us right now. All of this is waiting, and we are only beginning to explore it. The tools we use to explore the deep ocean are evolving rapidly. In the past, deep-sea exploration was limited by the technology of the time. Submersibles were heavy, expensive, and dangerous. They could only stay underwater for a few hours. They could only reach a limited depth, and they could only carry a small number of people. Today, the technology has changed. We have remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, that can stay underwater for days or weeks. They are connected to a surface ship by a cable, through which they receive power and transmit data. They are equipped with cameras, lights, sensors, and robotic arms that can collect samples and perform experiments. We have autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, that can operate independently of a surface ship. They are programmed to follow a specific path, collecting data as they go. They can dive to depths of over 6,000 meters and stay underwater for months. They are mapping the seafloor with a detail that was unimaginable just a few decades ago. We have deep-sea landers, platforms that are dropped to the seafloor and left to operate autonomously for weeks or months. They carry cameras, baits, and sensors, recording the activity of deep-sea animals in their natural habitat. They have captured footage of deep-sea creatures that had never been seen before, including the first video of a live giant squid in its natural environment. And we have new materials and designs that are making deep-sea exploration safer and more efficient. Titanium alloys, carbon fiber composites, and advanced ceramics are being used to build submersibles that can withstand the extreme pressure of the Hadal Zone. New battery technologies are allowing these vehicles to stay underwater for longer periods. New camera systems are capturing high-definition video in the near-total darkness of the deep. But the most exciting development in deep-sea exploration is the democratization of the technology. In the past, deep-sea exploration was limited to a few wealthy nations and large institutions. Today, smaller organizations, universities, and even private individuals are getting involved. The cost of building a deep-sea submersible has dropped dramatically. The availability of off-the-shelf components has made it easier to design and build exploration vehicles. This democratization is leading to a golden age of deep-sea discovery. More vehicles are exploring the deep ocean than ever before. More data is being collected. More species are being discovered. And the pace of discovery is accelerating. What will we find? No one can say for certain. But the evidence suggests that the deep ocean holds many surprises. We may find new species of squid, larger and stranger than any we have seen. The giant squid has been known to science for over a century, but we have only seen it alive in its natural habitat a handful of times. There could be other species of large squid that we have not yet encountered. The colossal squid was only described in 1925, and the first intact specimen was not recovered until 1981. There could be other species of giant cephalopods living in the deepest parts of the ocean that we have not yet discovered. We may find new species of fish adapted to the extreme conditions of the Hadal zone. The Hadal snailfish is the deepest living vertebrate known, but there could be other fish living at even greater depths. There could be fish that have evolved new sensory systems, new modes of locomotion, new ways of surviving in the high-pressure environment. We may find new species of sharks. The Greenland shark, the frilled shark, and the goblin shark are all living fossils that have survived for millions of years. There could be other ancient species of sharks hiding in the deep ocean that we have not yet found. There could be species that are even larger, even more bizarre, that have been living in the darkness for eons. We may find new species of whales. The spade-toothed whale is one of the rarest and least known large animals on Earth. It has never been seen alive. It is known only from a few strandings and skeletal remains. There could be other species of whales living in the deep ocean that have never been recorded by science. And we may find new ecosystems. The hydrothermal vents were discovered only in 1977. The cold seeps were discovered shortly after. The brine pools were discovered in the 1960s. Each one of these discoveries revealed a new type of ecosystem, a new way of life, a new set of rules for survival. There could be other types of ecosystems based on different chemistries and different energy sources that we have not yet imagined. The deep ocean is the last great frontier on Earth. It is a world of mystery and wonder hidden beneath the surface of the waves, and we are only beginning to explore it. Every time we send a submersible into the deep, we are making a discovery. Every time we lower a camera into the darkness, we are seeing something new. Every time we collect a sample from the seafloor, we are adding to our understanding of the planet we live on. The age of exploration is not over. It is just beginning. And the deep ocean is the greatest unexplored wilderness on Earth. Let us pause for a moment and think about what this means. We live on a planet that is covered in water. Most of that water is deep, and most of that deep is unexplored. We have better maps of the surface of Mars than we have of the floor of our own ocean. This is not a failure, it is an opportunity. It means that there are still discoveries to be made, still mysteries to be solved, still wonders to be revealed. It means that the age of exploration is not a historical event. It is a living, ongoing process, and we are part of it. Every time you listen to a documentary like this one, you are participating in that process. You are opening your mind to the mystery of the deep. You are joining a community of people who are curious about the unknown, and you are reminding yourself that there is still so much to learn. The deep ocean is a mirror of our own ignorance. It reflects back the limits of our knowledge, but it also reflects our potential. It shows us that there are still frontiers to cross, still boundaries to push, still depths to explore. And at the bottom of that ocean, in the darkness and the cold and the pressure, there are creatures that we have not yet met. Leviathans that have been waiting for millions of years, giants that have never been seen by human eyes. They are there, waiting. Let us take a slow breath. Let the thought settle, and let us turn our minds to the final part of our journey. We have traveled far tonight. We have descended from the sunlit surface of the ocean, down through the twilight zone, past the midnight zone, and into the Hadal depths where no light has ever reached. We have met the giant squid and the colossal squid. We have followed the sperm whale into the abyss. We have explored the myths of the kraken and the Leviathan. And we have seen the real animals behind those ancient stories. We have descended deeper still into the Hadal zone, where pressure crushes steel and darkness is absolute. We have seen the creatures that live there, the snailfish and the amphipods, the sea cucumbers and the sea spiders. We have considered the possibility of undiscovered giants, creatures that may be waiting for us in the unexplored depths. And now, as our journey comes to an end, let us take a moment to reflect on what we have seen. The deep ocean is a place of extremes. It is cold beyond anything we can feel. It is dark beyond anything we can see. The pressure is beyond anything we can withstand. And yet, life not only exists there, it thrives, it adapts, it evolves. There is a lesson in this, a lesson about resilience and adaptation and the stubborn persistence of life. If life can survive in the deepest trenches of the ocean, under pressures that would crush any human-made machine, then perhaps life can survive anywhere. Perhaps the universe is filled with life in forms that we cannot yet imagine. The deep ocean teaches us humility. It reminds us that we are not the masters of this planet. We are visitors on a world that is mostly water, and most of that water is beyond our reach. We are surface dwellers, adapted to a thin layer of air and light. The deep is not our world. It belongs to the creatures that live there. And yet, the deep ocean also teaches us wonder. It fills us with awe at the diversity and strangeness of life. It inspires us to explore, to discover, to push the boundaries of what we know. It reminds us that there is still mystery in the world, still beauty in the unknown. So let us end our journey here, in the darkness of the deep, drifting slowly through the abyss. The weight of the water above us, the silence all around, the faint, distant sounds of a world we can barely perceive. Let your breath slow, let your body relax, let your mind drift with the currents of the deep, carried by the darkness, held by the pressure, wrapped in the silence. The giant squid is down there somewhere. Its eyes, the largest on Earth, are searching for the faintest glimmer of light in the absolute darkness. Its tentacles, longer than a bus, are trailing through the water, feeling for the vibrations of prey. Its beak, hard and sharp, is ready to tear into the flesh of whatever it catches. The colossal squid is down there too, hooks rotating, ready to dig into the skin of a sperm whale. Body massive and muscular, capable of surviving pressures that would destroy any surface animal. It is a titan of the deep, a living legend, a creature that has been fighting for survival in the darkness for millions of years. The Greenland shark is down there, swimming slowly through the icy Arctic waters. 400 years old, ancient beyond our comprehension. It has been alive longer than any human being who has ever lived. It has seen empires rise and fall. It has seen the world change in ways that we can barely imagine. The oarfish is down there, its long ribbon-like body undulating through the mid-water. It is the sea serpent of legend, the messenger from the dragon's palace. When it surfaces, people speak of earthquakes and disasters. But it is not a harbinger of doom. It is just a fish, a strange and beautiful fish, living its life in the darkness. The frilled shark is down there, a living fossil, a remnant of the age of dinosaurs. Its teeth are like needles. Its gills are like frills. Its body is like an eel. It has survived for 80 million years, unchanged, a ghost from the deep past. The goblin shark is down there, its jaw shooting forward like a mechanical trap. It is the alien of the deep, the creature that looks like it came from another world. But it is from this world, our world, a world that is stranger than we ever knew. And the sperm whale is down there, diving into the abyss, searching for the giant squid. Its click is a beam of sound, focused and directed, piercing the darkness. Its body is a machine of evolution, designed for the deep. It is the apex predator of the Hadal zone, the king of the abyss. All of these creatures are down there, right now, as you lie here in the comfort of your room. They are living their lives in the darkness, hunting and feeding and mating and dying, in a world that we can barely imagine. And there are others, creatures we have not yet named, species we have not yet discovered. Giants we have not yet seen. They are waiting. In the deepest trenches of the ocean, in the darkness where no light has ever reached, there are animals that have never been seen by human eyes. They have been living there for millions of years, evolving in isolation, adapting to conditions that would destroy us instantly. They do not know that we exist. They have never seen a ship, never heard a human voice, never felt the touch of a human hand. They live in a world that is completely separate from ours, a world of darkness and pressure and cold. And they are waiting, not for us, not for anything. They are simply living their lives, as they have always done, in the depths of the ocean. But one day we will find them. One day a submersible will descend into a trench that has never been explored, and its lights will illuminate a creature that no one has ever seen. One day a camera will capture an image of something new, something strange, something wonderful. And on that day, we will be reminded, once again, that the deep ocean is not a void. It is a world filled with life and mystery and wonder. Until that day, we can only imagine. We can only wonder. We can only drift through the darkness of our imagination, following the threads of evidence and the whispers of mystery. So let us drift now. Let our minds float in the darkness of the deep, carried by the currents of the unknown. Let the images of the creatures we have met tonight fade slowly, like dreams upon waking. The giant squid, with its enormous eyes, fades into the darkness. The colossal squid, with its rotating hooks, fades into the darkness. The sperm whale, diving into the abyss, fades into the darkness. The Greenland shark, 400 years old, fades into the darkness. The oarfish, the frilled shark, the goblin shark, the coelacanth, all of them fade into the darkness from which they came. And we are left here, floating in the void, surrounded by the silence of the deep. The pressure is all around us, a weight that we cannot feel. The cold seeps into our bones, a chill that we cannot shiver from. The darkness envelops us, a blindness that is total and complete. And yet we are not afraid, because we know that this darkness is not empty. It is filled with life. It is filled with mystery. It is filled with the promise of discovery. The deep ocean is a place of peace. It is a place of stillness. It is a place where the noise of the surface world cannot reach. It is a place where we can let go of our worries and our fears and simply exist, floating in the darkness, listening to the silence. So let us stay here for a moment. Let us rest in the deep. Let us allow the darkness to hold us, the pressure to embrace us, the cold to soothe us. There is nothing to fear here. There is only the deep, and the deep is patient. The deep is eternal. The deep is waiting. As you drift toward sleep, let the deep take you. Let the darkness wrap around you like a blanket. Let the silence fill your mind. Let the weight of the water carry you down, down, down into the deepest sleep you have ever known. The giants of the deep are sleeping too. The giant squid resting in the currents. The colossal squid drifting in the darkness. The sperm whale floating in the void between dives. All of them are resting, conserving their energy for the hunt that awaits. And you can rest too. You can let go of the day. You can release the tension in your body. You can allow your mind to drift into the deep, where there is nothing to worry about, nothing to fear, nothing to do but sleep. So sleep now. Let the deep hold you. Let the mystery comfort you. Let the darkness welcome you. Sleep. The ocean is deep. The darkness is vast. The mystery is eternal. And you are safe. Sleep. But before we fully drift away, let us turn our attention to one more creature. A creature so strange that when scientists first saw it on video, they did not know what they were looking at. A creature that looks like something from another planet, with arms so long and thin that they seem to defy the laws of biology. A creature that has been seen only a handful of times in the deepest waters of the ocean, and that remains almost entirely unknown. This is the Magna Pinna, the big fin squid. The Magna Pinna is a genus of deep-sea squid that was first described in 1998 based on specimens that had been collected over the previous 2 decades. But the first video footage of a living Magna Pinna was not captured until 2001, when a remotely operated vehicle from the Minerals Management Service was exploring the deep waters of the Gulf of Mexico at a depth of over 2,000 meters. The footage was astonishing. The squid appeared in the lights of the ROV, its body small and compact. But its arms were something else entirely. They were long, extremely long. The arms of the Magna Pinna are held in a distinctive posture, bent at the elbows, hanging down from the body like threads from a marionette. The arms are covered in tiny suckers, and they are so thin and so long that they look like filaments, not arms. The total length of a Magna Pinna, from the tip of its mantle to the end of its longest arms, can reach over 8 meters. But the mantle, the main body of the squid, is only about 30 centimeters long. The arms account for over 90% of the squid's total length. This is an almost absurd proportion. Imagine a creature with a body the size of a football and arms that are over 7 meters long. That is the Magna Pinna. How does it use these arms? What does it eat? How does it move? These are questions that scientists are still trying to answer. The leading theory is that the Magna Pinna is a passive hunter. It drifts through the water, its arms trailing behind it like a web. When a small crustacean or fish touches one of the arms, the suckers grab hold and the arm contracts, bringing the prey to the squid's mouth. This is known as a drift and trap strategy, and it is unique among cephalopods. The Magna Pinna does not chase its prey. It lets the prey come to it. The arms of the Magna Pinna are not just long. They are also extremely flexible. They can bend at sharp angles, and they can be retracted or extended at will. The squid can control the position of each arm independently, creating a three-dimensional trap in the water around it. The Magna Pinna is also notable for its fins. Its name, Magna Pinna, means big fin. The fins of this squid are large and wing-like, and they are used for slow, graceful propulsion. The squid moves through the water with a gentle flapping motion, like a bird flying through the dark. The Magna Pinna has been seen in oceans all over the world, from the Gulf of Mexico to the waters off the coast of Brazil, from the Indian Ocean to the Pacific. But it has never been captured alive. It has never been studied in a laboratory. Everything we know about it comes from a handful of video recordings and a few damaged specimens that were caught in fishing nets. The Magna Pinna is one of the most mysterious large animals on Earth. It is a reminder that the deep ocean still holds creatures that we have barely begun to understand. And there is another deep-sea squid that is almost as strange, the cockeyed squid, or Histiotuthis. This squid has 2 eyes that are completely different sizes. One eye is large and tubular, pointing upward, adapted for seeing the silhouettes of prey against the faint light of the surface. The other eye is small and normal, pointing downward, adapted for detecting bioluminescent flashes in the darkness below. The cockeyed squid is a living embodiment of the asymmetry of the deep ocean. It has evolved to see in 2 different directions at once, to monitor both the dim light from above and the faint flashes from below. It is a creature of 2 worlds, caught between the surface and the abyss. And there is the Dana octopus squid, or Taningia dani. This squid is one of the largest deep-sea squid, reaching lengths of over 2 meters. It has 2 large photophores, or light-producing organs, at the tips of 2 of its arms. These photophores can produce intense flashes of light, which the squid uses to blind its prey before attacking. The Dana octopus squid has been caught on video only a few times. In one remarkable sequence, filmed by a Japanese research team in 2012, a Dana octopus squid was seen flashing its photophores in a rapid, rhythmic pattern. The flashes were so bright that they overexposed the camera, creating bursts of white light in the darkness. The squid was using its light to hunt. It was flashing to disorient its prey, and then striking in the confusion. It was a display of predatory power that few humans had ever witnessed. These squid, the Magna Pinna, the cockeyed squid, the Dana octopus squid, are just a few of the strange and wonderful cephalopods that live in the deep ocean. There are many more, species that we have not yet named, behaviors that we have not yet observed. The deep ocean is a world of squid. It is a world of tentacles and beaks and ink and light. It is a world where the most successful predators are not fish or sharks or whales, but cephalopods. The squid have conquered the deep, and we are only beginning to understand how. Let us take a breath. Let the image of the Magna Pinna form in your mind. Its small body, its enormous fins, its impossibly long arms trailing through the darkness like threads of silk. It drifts, it waits, it hunts without moving. The Magna Pinna is a creature of patience. It does not chase. It does not rush. It floats in the darkness, its arms spread wide, waiting for the universe to come to it. There is something meditative about this, something that resonates with the state we are entering now. The state of drifting, of waiting, of allowing the world to come to us. Let us drift with the Magna Pinna. Let our arms trail behind us in the current. Let our minds float in the darkness, open and receptive. We are not chasing anything tonight. We are simply drifting. Let the deep carry us. But let us also remember how we came to know these creatures. The history of deep-sea exploration is a story of courage and curiosity, of men and women who risked everything to see what lay beneath the waves. And that story is worth telling, because it reminds us that the knowledge we have of the deep ocean was hard-won. The first systematic exploration of the deep ocean began in 1872 with the voyage of HMS Challenger. The Challenger was a British naval corvette that had been converted into a floating laboratory. Its mission was to explore the world's oceans, to measure their depths, to sample their waters and their seafloors, and to discover the life that lived in them. The Challenger expedition lasted 3.5 years. It covered over 110,000 kilometers. It collected samples from every ocean in the world, and it discovered over 4,000 new species of marine life. Among the discoveries of the Challenger expedition were the first specimens of the deep-sea floor. The expedition's dredges brought up mud and ooze from depths of over 5,000 meters, revealing that the seafloor was not a barren wasteland, but a quiet, muddy place, covered in the remains of microscopic organisms. The Challenger expedition also discovered the first evidence of life at great depths. Its dredges brought up sea cucumbers, worms, crustaceans, and fish from depths where no one had thought life could exist. These discoveries overturned the long-held belief that the deep ocean was a biological desert. But the Challenger expedition had its limitations. Its dredges were crude, and they sampled only a small fraction of the seafloor. The expedition could not see what it was collecting. It could only drag its nets through the darkness and hope to catch something. It would take another 60 years before a human being would descend into the deep ocean and see it with their own eyes. In 1930, the American naturalist William Beebe and the engineer Otis Barton descended to a depth of over 300 meters in a steel sphere called the bathysphere. The bathysphere was a hollow steel ball, about 1.5 meters in diameter, with 3 small windows made of fused quartz. It was lowered into the ocean on a cable, and it had no means of propulsion. Beebe and Barton were simply dropped into the deep, and they were pulled back up when their time was up. The dives of the bathysphere were the first time a human being had seen the deep ocean. Beebe described the experience in lyrical prose, writing about the changing colors of the water as he descended, the sudden darkness at about 600 meters, and the strange creatures that he saw through the small windows. He saw jellyfish, glowing with bioluminescence. He saw shrimp, their bodies transparent, their internal organs visible through their shells. He saw fish with lights on their heads, fish with teeth like needles, fish that looked like they came from another world. Beebe's descriptions of the deep ocean captured the public imagination. They revealed a world that was stranger and more beautiful than anyone had imagined. And they inspired a generation of scientists to explore the deep. But the bathysphere could only go so deep. The pressure at its maximum depth of over 900 meters was immense, and the cable that held it was at its limit. To go deeper, a new type of vessel was needed. That vessel was the bathyscaphe. The bathyscaphe was a free-diving submersible, not tethered to a surface ship. It consisted of a large float filled with gasoline, which provided buoyancy, and a small steel sphere suspended beneath it, which carried the crew. The bathyscaphe could descend to much greater depths than the bathysphere because it was not limited by the length of a cable. The first bathyscaphe was built by the Swiss physicist Auguste Piccard. In 1953, Piccard and his son Jacques descended to a depth of over 3,000 meters in the bathyscaphe Trieste. They proved that the bathyscaphe design worked, and they opened the door to the deepest parts of the ocean. In 1960, the Trieste was purchased by the United States Navy and modified for extreme depths. On January 23, 1960, Jacques Piccard the son of Auguste, and Lieutenant Don Walsh of the United States Navy descended to the deepest point on Earth, the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench. The descent took nearly 5 hours. The two men sat in a steel sphere that was barely large enough to hold them. The temperature inside the sphere dropped to near freezing. The walls creaked and groaned under the pressure. At a depth of about 9,000 meters, a loud crack echoed through the sphere. A plexiglass window had cracked under the pressure, but the steel sphere held. At about 1 in the afternoon, the Trieste settled onto the seafloor, 7 miles below the surface. Pickard and Walsh had done what no human being had ever done before. They had touched the bottom of the ocean. They spent only 20 minutes on the seafloor. They saw a fish, or what they thought was a fish, a flatfish about 30 centimeters long. They stirred up a cloud of silt with their landing, and then they began their ascent. The dive of the Trieste was a landmark in human exploration. It proved that we could reach the deepest parts of the ocean. It opened the door to the Hadal Zone, but it would be over 50 years before another human being returned to the Challenger Deep. In 2012, the filmmaker James Cameron made a solo descent in the Deep-Sea Challenger, a specially designed submersible that was more advanced than anything that had come before. Cameron spent several hours on the seafloor, collecting samples and filming footage. His dive was the first solo descent to the deepest point in the ocean, and it provided new insights into the Hadal Zone. Since Cameron's dive, several other missions have reached the Challenger Deep. Robotic vehicles have explored its floor. New species have been discovered. The Hadal Zone is slowly giving up its secrets. But the history of deep-sea exploration is not just about reaching the deepest point. It is about the gradual, painstaking process of mapping the unknown. It is about the scientists who spend years analyzing the data from a single dive. It is about the engineers who design the vehicles that make these dives possible. It is about the curiosity that drives us to explore. And that curiosity is still alive. There are more deep-sea submersibles operating today than at any time in history. There are more scientists studying the deep ocean than ever before. The age of exploration is not over. It is accelerating. Let us take a moment to appreciate what it took to get here. The courage of Beebe and Barton sitting in their steel sphere, descending into the unknown. The ingenuity of the Pickards, designing a vessel that could withstand pressures that would crush anything else. The determination of Walsh and Cameron, pushing the boundaries of human endurance. These are the explorers of the deep. They went where no one had gone before. They saw what no one had seen, and they brought back the knowledge that we are sharing tonight. Let us honor them by continuing to explore in our own way, by opening our minds to the mystery of the deep. Take a breath. Let the history of exploration settle into your mind. The bathysphere, descending through the layers of the ocean. The Trieste, touching the bottom of the world. The Deep-Sea Challenger, its lights piercing the darkness of the Hadal Zone. These are the moments that defined our understanding of the deep, and we are still adding to them. Let us now turn to one of the most beautiful and mysterious phenomena in the deep ocean. Bioluminescence, the production of light by living organisms. In the deep ocean, where no sunlight penetrates, bioluminescence is the dominant form of light. It is used by creatures of all kinds, from bacteria to fish, for a wide variety of purposes. The chemistry of bioluminescence is relatively well understood. It involves a molecule called luciferin and an enzyme called luciferase. When luciferin is oxidized by oxygen, it produces light. The luciferase enzyme speeds up this reaction, and the color of the light depends on the structure of the luciferin and the conditions under which the reaction occurs. In most deep-sea creatures, bioluminescence is blue-green in color. This is because blue-green light travels the farthest through seawater. Red light is absorbed quickly, and yellow light is scattered. Blue-green light, with its short wavelength, can travel for hundreds of meters in the clear waters of the deep ocean. But there are exceptions. Some deep-sea fish produce red bioluminescence, which is invisible to most other deep-sea animals because they cannot see red light. This gives the fish a secret weapon. They can illuminate their prey without being detected. The uses of bioluminescence in the deep ocean are incredibly diverse. Some animals use it to attract prey. The anglerfish is the most famous example. It has a lure on its head that glows with bioluminescent light. The lure dangles in front of the anglerfish's mouth, attracting small fish and crustaceans that mistake it for food. When the prey gets close enough, the anglerfish strikes. Other animals use bioluminescence to defend themselves. Some squid and shrimp can eject a cloud of bioluminescent fluid, confusing predators and allowing the animal to escape. Others can flash their light suddenly, startling a predator and giving themselves time to flee. Still others use bioluminescence to communicate. Fireflies on land do this, but in the ocean it is much more common. Many species of fish and squid use specific patterns of light to attract mates, to warn off rivals, or to coordinate group behavior. And some animals use bioluminescence for camouflage. This is called counter-illumination. An animal that lives in the midwater, where a faint glimmer of light from the surface can still be seen, is visible as a silhouette against that light. To hide itself, the animal produces light on its underside, matching the color and intensity of the light from above. This makes the animal effectively invisible from below. Many species of squid, shrimp, and fish use counter-illumination. They have specialized organs called photophores that produce light, and they can adjust the intensity of that light to match the changing conditions of the water above them. The deep ocean is filled with light, not the light of the sun, but the light of life. Everywhere you look, in the darkness of the deep, there are creatures glowing and flashing and shimmering. It is a light show that has been going on for millions of years, hidden from human eyes. The first human beings to see this light were the deep-sea explorers of the early 20th century. William Beebe, in his bathysphere, described the bioluminescence he saw as a living constellation, a sky of stars in the darkness of the deep. He saw flashes of light from jellyfish, streaks of light from shrimp, and steady glows from fish. The bioluminescence of the deep ocean is one of the most beautiful and least understood phenomena on Earth. We know the chemistry, we know the basic functions, but we are only beginning to understand the complexity of the visual world that exists in the deep. For the animals of the deep, light is not a given. It is a tool. It is a weapon. It is a language. It is a way of navigating a world that is otherwise completely dark. The giant squid has the largest eyes of any animal on Earth, and those eyes are adapted for detecting bioluminescence. They can see the faintest flashes of light in the darkness, allowing the squid to detect prey and predators from a distance. The colossal squid has eyes that are even larger. They are the size of dinner plates, and they are capable of detecting the bioluminescent glow of a sperm whale as it descends through the deep. The colossal squid can see the whale before the whale sees it, giving it a precious moment to prepare for battle. The animals of the deep live in a world of light and shadow that we can barely imagine. It is a world where the most important sense is vision, but vision of a very different kind. It is vision adapted to near-total darkness, where a single photon of light can be the difference between life and death. Let us pause for a moment and imagine that world. Imagine yourself floating in the deep ocean at a depth of 1,000 meters. There is no light from the surface. You are surrounded by absolute darkness. But then, in the distance, you see a flash. A brief, blue-green glow lasting only a fraction of a second. Then, another flash. Then another. The flashes are coming from a school of shrimp disturbed by a passing fish. They are flashing to confuse the fish, to make it harder for it to focus on any one target. Then you see a steady glow. It is coming from a jellyfish, pulsing gently as it drifts through the water. Its light is soft and beautiful, a living lantern in the darkness. Then you see a streak of light, like a shooting star. It is a squid escaping from a predator, leaving a trail of bioluminescent fluid behind it. And then you see a pattern of lights, blinking in a specific sequence. It is a fish signaling to its mate. The lights blink 3 times, then pause, then blink again. This is the language of the deep. The deep ocean, for all its darkness, is filled with light. It is a living constellation, a sky of stars beneath the waves. It is one of the most beautiful and mysterious spectacles on Earth. Let us take a breath and let that image settle. The living light of the deep, the bioluminescent glow of 1,000,000 creatures, each one using light in its own way, for its own purposes. We have seen this light only a handful of times. We have captured it on video only rarely, but it is there, all the time, in the darkness of the deep, and it is waiting for us to discover it. Now let us descend to the seafloor itself, to a place where death gives birth to life. a place that is one of the most extraordinary ecosystems in the deep ocean, the whale fall. When a whale dies, its body sinks to the seafloor. This is called a whale fall, and it is one of the most important events in the deep ocean. A whale is enormous. A single blue whale can weigh over 150 tons. That is more than any dinosaur that ever lived. When a body that large sinks to the seafloor, it creates an oasis of food in the desert of the deep. The first stage of a whale fall is the mobile scavenger stage. Within hours of the whale reaching the seafloor, the first scavengers arrive. Hagfish, sleeper sharks, rat-tail fish, and large amphipods descend on the carcass, tearing off chunks of flesh and blubber. They can consume up to 60 kilograms of whale tissue per day. The hagfish are particularly efficient. They burrow into the whale's body, eating from the inside out. They tie themselves in knots to gain leverage as they tear off pieces of flesh. Within weeks, the soft tissue of the whale is stripped away, leaving only the skeleton. The second stage is the enrichment opportunist stage. After the scavengers have consumed the soft tissue, the remaining scraps of flesh and the bones themselves attract a different community of organisms. Worms, crustaceans, and mollusks colonize the bones and the surrounding sediment. They feed on the remaining organic material and on the bacteria that are breaking down the whale's oils. This stage can last for months or years, depending on the size of the whale and the conditions of the seafloor. The third stage is the sulfophilic stage. This is the longest and most remarkable stage of a whale fall. The bones of the whale contain large amounts of lipids or fats. These lipids are slowly broken down by bacteria in a process that releases hydrogen sulfide. The hydrogen sulfide creates a chemical gradient that attracts a community of organisms that are adapted to live on this toxic energy source. These are the same types of organisms that live at hydrothermal vents and cold seeps. They are chemosynthetic bacteria, mussels, clams, and tube worms that derive their energy from the hydrogen sulfide rather than from the sun. The sulfophilic stage can last for decades. The bones of a large whale can continue to release hydrogen sulfide for up to 100 years, providing a source of energy for a community of deep-sea organisms that would otherwise have nothing to eat. A whale fall is not just a meal. It is an island. It is a habitat that supports a unique community of organisms that are found nowhere else on Earth. Some species of worms and clams are known only from whale falls, and whale falls may have played an important role in the evolution of deep-sea ecosystems. Some scientists believe that whale falls served as stepping stones, allowing organisms that evolved at hydrothermal vents to disperse across the ocean floor. The vents are isolated and short-lived. The whale falls are scattered and temporary, but together, they create a network of oases that allow chemosynthetic communities to survive and spread. The discovery of whale falls is a relatively recent event in the history of deep-sea biology. The first whale fall was discovered in 1977 by a research submarine exploring the seafloor off the coast of California. Since then, only a handful of whale falls have been found and studied. They are rare, and they are difficult to locate. But every whale fall that is discovered reveals something new. In 2019, a team of scientists exploring the seafloor off the coast of Monterey, California, discovered a whale fall that was over 4,000 meters deep. It was the deepest whale fall ever found. The skeleton was still intact, and it was covered in a carpet of deep-sea organisms. The scientists spent several days studying the whale fall, collecting samples and recording video. They found species of worms and clams that had never been seen before. They observed the behavior of the scavengers and the community of organisms that had colonized the bones. The study of whale falls is still in its infancy. We do not know how many whales die each year. We do not know how many of those bodies reach the seafloor. We do not know how many species depend on whale falls for their survival, but we know that they are important. They are oases in the desert of the deep, providing food and habitat for a community of organisms that would otherwise have nothing. They are a reminder that even in death, the giants of the ocean give life. There is a deep poetry in this. The whale, the largest animal on Earth, spends its life swimming through the ocean, feeding on the smallest creatures, krill, and plankton. When it dies, its body sinks to the seafloor, where it feeds an entirely different community of organisms, from the largest sharks to the smallest bacteria. The whale connects the surface to the deep. It is a bridge between two worlds, and when we find a whale fall, we are witnessing that connection in its most literal form. We are seeing the surface feeding the deep. Let us take a moment to appreciate this cycle. the life of the whale feeding on the bounty of the surface. The death of the whale, feeding the darkness of the deep. The bones of the whale, feeding the bacteria for 100 years. This is the great cycle of the ocean. It has been going on for millions of years. It will continue for millions more. And we are only beginning to understand it. Take a breath. Let the image of the whale fall form in your mind. The skeleton, white and massive, lying on the dark seafloor. The hagfish, writhing in the remains of the flesh. The worms, covering the bones like a living carpet. The bacteria, converting the oils of the whale into energy for the community. This is death-giving life. This is the deep ocean, in all its mystery and wonder. Let us continue our descent. Imagine for a moment what it would be like to live in a world without light. Not a dim world, not a twilight world, but a world of absolute, total, permanent darkness. A world where the sun has never shone. A world where the only light is the light that living creatures make themselves. This is the world of the deep ocean below 1,000 meters. It is a world without day or night, a world without seasons, a world where temperature never changes, where pressure is constant, where the only movement is the slow drift of the currents and the faster movement of the animals themselves. In this world, the senses that we rely on are useless. Our eyes, adapted for daylight, are blind. Our ears, adapted for air, are deaf to the sounds that matter in water. Our sense of smell, so weak compared to other animals, is almost non-existent. Our sense of touch, limited to our immediate surroundings, cannot reach beyond our own bodies. To survive in the deep, animals have had to develop senses that we can barely imagine. They have evolved ways of seeing in the dark, of hearing in the silence, of feeling the world around them in ways that we cannot. Consider the lateral line system of fish. This is a sensory organ that runs along the sides of a fish's body, detecting vibrations and pressure changes in the water. It allows the fish to feel the movement of prey, the approach of predators, the flow of currents, all without seeing or hearing. In the deep ocean, the lateral line system is often highly developed. Some deep-sea fish have lateral lines that are so sensitive they can detect the heartbeat of a nearby animal. They can feel the tiny vibrations caused by the beating of a heart, and they can follow that vibration to its source. Consider the electroreception of sharks and rays. These animals have organs called ampullae of Lorenzini, which detect the electrical fields produced by all living creatures. In the deep ocean, where light is absent, electroreception allows sharks to hunt in complete darkness. They can sense the electrical field of a fish buried in the sediment, or the field of a squid hiding in the water column. Some deep-sea sharks have electroreception that is so sensitive they can detect the electrical field of a single nerve firing. They can sense the thoughts of their prey, in a way, before the prey even knows it is being hunted. Consider the chemoreception of crustaceans. Shrimp, crabs, and lobsters have an extraordinary sense of smell. They can detect the chemicals released by food from kilometers away, and they can follow the chemical trail to its source. In the deep ocean, where food is scarce and widely scattered, this sense is essential for survival. The supergiant amphipods of the Hadal zone have chemoreception that is so acute they can detect a single molecule of organic matter in the water. They can smell a dead whale from kilometers away, and they will travel for days to reach it. Consider the touch sensitivity of deep-sea squid. The arms and tentacles of squid are covered in suckers that are packed with sensory cells. These cells can detect the slightest touch, the faintest vibration, the most subtle change in pressure. A squid can feel the approach of a predator from meters away, using only the sensitivity of its arms. The magna pinna, with its impossibly long arms, uses touch as its primary sense. Its arms trail through the water like the threads of a spider's web, and when something touches them, the squid knows instantly. It can feel the size, the shape, the movement of whatever has touched its arms, and it can respond accordingly. Consider the hearing of whales. The sperm whale uses echolocation, sending out clicks and listening for the echoes. But other whales, the baleen whales, use sound in a different way. They sing. Their songs are complex and beautiful, and they can travel for thousands of kilometers through the deep sound channel of the ocean. The songs of whales are not just communication. They are also a way of sensing the world. By listening to the echoes of their own songs, whales can build a picture of the ocean around them. They can detect underwater mountains, canyons, and even the texture of the seafloor. The deep ocean, for all its darkness, is not a silent world. It is filled with sound. The clicks of sperm whales, the songs of humpback whales, the grunts of fish, the snaps of shrimp, the rumble of earthquakes, the groan of tectonic plates. All of these sounds travel through the water, carrying information about the world. And the animals of the deep have evolved to use this information. They listen, they feel, they smell, they sense the world in ways that we cannot. Consider the sensory world of the giant squid. Its eyes are the largest of any animal on Earth, adapted for detecting the faintest bioluminescent flashes. Its arms are covered in suckers that can feel the slightest vibration. Its brain is large and complex, processing information from all of these senses. The giant squid lives in a world of light and shadow that we can barely imagine. It sees the bioluminescent flashes of prey and predators. It feels the approach of a sperm whale through the water. It smells the chemicals released by a wounded fish. It hears the clicks of the whale's echolocation. All of this information flows into the squid's brain, and the squid responds. It attacks, it flees, it hides, it waits. The sensory world of the deep is a world of constant information. The animals of the deep are not living in a void. They are living in a world that is rich with signals, with cues, with information that we are only beginning to understand. And we, with our limited human senses, can only glimpse this world. We can only imagine what it must be like to feel the heartbeat of your prey, to see the bioluminescent flash of your predator, to smell the chemicals of food from kilometers away. This is the true mystery of the deep, not just the creatures that live there, but the way they perceive the world, the sensory universe that they inhabit. Let us take a moment to appreciate this. The deep ocean is not just a place of darkness. It is a place of information. It is a place where every creature is constantly sensing, constantly processing, constantly responding to a world that we cannot perceive. Take a breath. Let your mind open to this possibility. Imagine what it would be like to sense the world in a completely different way, to feel the heartbeat of a fish, to smell the trail of a whale, to see the bioluminescent language of the deep. This is the world of the Leviathans, and we are only beginning to understand it. Let us now descend to one of the most remarkable discoveries in the history of deep-sea science, the hydrothermal vents. These are chimneys on the seafloor that spew superheated water, rich in dissolved minerals, into the cold darkness of the deep. They were discovered in 1977 by a team of scientists exploring the Galapagos Rift, a volcanic ridge on the seafloor off the coast of Ecuador. The discovery was a complete surprise. The scientists were expecting to find a barren, rocky seafloor. Instead, they found an oasis of life. The vents were surrounded by giant tube worms, over 2 meters tall, with bright red plumes waving in the current. There were clams the size of dinner plates. There were shrimp, crabs, and fish, all living in water that was superheated to over 300 degrees Celsius. How could life exist in such extreme conditions? The answer was chemosynthesis. The tube worms and clams were not feeding on organic matter from the surface. They were feeding on bacteria that were converting the chemicals in the vent water into energy. The bacteria used hydrogen sulfide, a toxic compound that would kill most surface animals, as their energy source. This was a revolution in biology. Until the discovery of hydrothermal vents, scientists believed that all life on Earth ultimately depended on the sun. Plants used photosynthesis to convert sunlight into energy. Animals ate plants or ate other animals that ate plants. Even the deepest parts of the ocean depended on the organic matter that drifted down from the surface. But the hydrothermal vents were different. They had no connection to the sun. Their energy came from the Earth itself. The heat of the magma, the chemicals of the rock, the reaction of seawater with the crust, all of this created a chemical energy source that bacteria could use. And those bacteria formed the foundation of an ecosystem that was completely independent of the sun. The discovery of hydrothermal vents changed the way scientists think about life. It showed that life could exist in environments that were previously thought to be impossible. It raised the possibility that life might exist on other planets, in oceans beneath the ice of Europa or Enceladus, where the energy comes not from the sun, but from the interior of the planet. Since the discovery of the first vents, hundreds of vent fields have been found in every ocean in the world. Each one is unique. Some are hot, with water temperatures exceeding 400 degrees Celsius. Others are cooler, with temperatures of only a few degrees above freezing. Some are acidic, with pH levels that would dissolve metal. Others are alkaline, with pH levels that would burn skin. And each vent field supports its own unique community of organisms. The tube worms of the Galapagos Rift are different from the tube worms of the Juan de Fuca Ridge. The clams of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge are different from the clams of the Indian Ocean. The shrimp of the Caribbean vents are different from the shrimp of the Pacific vents. The hydrothermal vents are islands of life in the desert of the deep. They are isolated from each other by hundreds or thousands of kilometers of barren seafloor. And yet, the organisms that live at the vents have found ways to disperse from one vent to another. Their larvae drift in the currents, carried by the water, searching for a new vent to colonize. How they find these vents is one of the great mysteries of deep-sea biology. The vents are small and widely scattered. The larvae are tiny and have limited energy, and yet they manage to find new vents with remarkable efficiency. Some scientists believe that the larvae use chemical cues to find the vents. They can smell the hydrogen sulfide and other chemicals in the vent water, and they follow the chemical gradient to its source. Others believe that the larvae use the sounds of the vents, the hissing and bubbling of the superheated water, to guide them. Whatever the mechanism, the dispersal of vent larvae is one of the most remarkable feats of navigation in the animal kingdom. But hydrothermal vents are not the only oases in the deep. There are also cold seeps. Cold seeps are places where methane and other hydrocarbons seep from the seafloor, creating a chemical gradient that supports communities of chemosynthetic organisms. Cold seeps are less dramatic than hydrothermal vents, but they are more common. They are found on continental margins all over the world, and they support a diverse community of organisms. And there are brine pools, which we discussed earlier, and whale falls, and woodfalls, where sunken trees create temporary oases for deep-sea organisms. And even the carcasses of large fish can create small oases for scavengers. The deep ocean, for all its emptiness, is dotted with oases. These oases are rare and scattered, but they are essential for the survival of many deep-sea species. They are the watering holes of the abyss, and the organisms that live at these oases are some of the most remarkable on Earth. They have adapted to conditions that would kill any surface animal. They live in total darkness, under crushing pressure, in water that is either superheated or near freezing, and they thrive. The tube worm, Riftia pachyptila, is one of the most extraordinary examples. It has no mouth, no stomach, no digestive system. It relies entirely on the bacteria that live inside its body. The bacteria convert hydrogen sulfide into organic compounds, and the tube worm absorbs the nutrients directly. In return, the tube worm provides the bacteria with a safe place to live and a supply of oxygen and carbon dioxide. This is a symbiosis, a partnership between two different species that benefits both. And it is one of the most successful partnerships in the history of life. The giant clams of the hydrothermal vents are another example. They are enormous, growing to over 30 centimeters in length. They have bacteria living in their gills, which provide them with nutrients. And they have a specialized organ called a foot, which they use to attach themselves to the rocks around the vent. The vent shrimp are another remarkable adaptation. They swarm around the vents in enormous numbers, feeding on the bacteria that grow on the rocks. They have special organs on their backs that can detect the heat of the vent water, allowing them to navigate in the darkness. And there are even fish at the vents. The vent fish, or thermicthus, is a small, eel-like fish that lives in the cracks between the vent chimneys. It feeds on the shrimp and other small organisms that live around the vents. The hydrothermal vents are one of the most important discoveries in the history of marine biology. They have changed our understanding of life, of evolution, of the possibilities of existence. They are a reminder that life can find a way, even in the most extreme conditions. Let us take a moment to appreciate the significance of this discovery. Before 1977, we believed that all life on Earth depended on the sun. After 1977, we knew that life could exist in total darkness, powered by the Earth itself. This was a shift in our understanding of the universe. It means that life could exist on other planets, in other oceans, in places where the sun never shines. It means that the universe may be filled with life, in forms that we cannot yet imagine. And it means that the deep ocean is not just a place of mystery, it is a place of possibility. Take a breath. Let the image of the hydrothermal vents form in your mind. The chimneys, black and towering, spewing superheated water into the cold darkness. The tube worms, their red plumes waving in the current. The clams, giant and white, clustered around the vent openings. The shrimp, swarming in the hot water, their eyes glowing with bioluminescence. This is life without the sun. This is a world powered by the earth itself. And it exists right now, beneath our feet, in the darkness of the deep. There is another phenomenon in the deep ocean that is almost as remarkable as the hydrothermal vents. It is called the daily vertical migration, or DVM. It is the largest movement of animal biomass on Earth, and it happens every single day. Every evening, as the sun sets over the ocean, billions upon billions of animals begin to rise from the deep. They rise from depths of 500 meters, 1,000 meters, even deeper. They rise through the water column, an invisible army of creatures ascending toward the surface. They are the mesopelagic animals, the creatures of the twilight zone. Fish, squid, shrimp, jellyfish, all of them rise together in a mass migration that dwarfs any movement of animals on land. Why do they rise? To feed. The surface waters of the ocean, the sunlit zone, are rich in plankton. During the day, the plankton are safe from predators because the mesopelagic animals are hiding in the darkness of the deep. But when the sun sets, the mesopelagic animals rise to the surface to feed on the plankton. And every morning as the sun rises, they descend again. They return to the darkness of the deep, where they spend the day digesting their meal and hiding from their own predators. This daily migration is driven by light. The animals are responding to the changing intensity of sunlight. As the light fades, they rise. As the light returns, they descend. But there is also a lunar cycle. The animals rise higher on dark nights than on bright nights. They are also influenced by the moon. The scale of the daily vertical migration is almost impossible to comprehend. Scientists estimate that the total biomass of the animals that migrate every day is between 10 and 15 billion tons. That is more than the total biomass of all the fish in the ocean. It is more than the total weight of all the humans on Earth. The migration is so large that it can be detected from space. The animals absorb sunlight, and their movement changes the optical properties of the ocean. Satellites can see the migration as a daily pulse of darkness moving through the ocean. The migration is also a major component of the Earth's carbon cycle. The animals feed at the surface and then they descend into the deep, carrying the carbon they have consumed with them. They excrete waste at depth. They are eaten by predators at depth. They die and sink to the seafloor. All of this transports carbon from the surface to the deep, where it can be stored for centuries. This is called the biological pump. It is one of the most important processes on Earth, and it is driven by the daily vertical migration of deep-sea animals. The animals that participate in the migration are diverse. There are lanternfish, small fish, with light-producing organs on their bodies. There are bristlemouths, which are among the most abundant vertebrates on Earth. There are hatchetfish, with their silvery bodies and large, upward-pointing eyes. There are squid, from tiny juveniles to large adults. There are shrimp, krill, and jellyfish. All of these animals rise and fall with the daily rhythm of the sun. They are the largest moving crowd on Earth, and we barely know them. The lanternfish, or myctophids, are particularly important. There are over 250 species of lanternfish, and they are found in every ocean in the world. They are small, usually less than 15 centimeters long, but they are incredibly abundant. Some scientists estimate that lanternfish make up over half of the total biomass of fish in the ocean. Lanternfish have light-producing organs on their bodies, called photophores. They use these lights for communication, for camouflage, and for attracting prey. The patterns of light on their bodies are unique to each species, and they can be used to identify them. The lanternfish are a crucial link in the ocean food web. They feed on plankton, and they are fed upon by larger fish, squid, and marine mammals. They are the main food source for many of the tuna and salmon that we eat. But despite their importance, we know very little about lanternfish. We do not know how long they live. We do not know how they reproduce. We do not know how they navigate during their daily migration. The daily vertical migration is one of the great mysteries of the ocean. It is a phenomenon that we have known about for decades, but we still do not fully understand it. We do not know what triggers the migration in each individual animal. We do not know how they sense the position of the sun. We do not know how they navigate through the water column. And we do not know what will happen to the migration as the climate changes. The surface waters of the ocean are warming, and the oxygen levels in the deep are changing. These changes could affect the migration in ways that we cannot predict. The daily vertical migration is a reminder that the deep ocean is not a static place. It is a dynamic, changing world. Every day, billions of animals rise and fall, connecting the surface to the deep. They are the heartbeat of the ocean. Let us pause for a moment and imagine this migration. As the sun sets, the darkness deepens, and from below, the animals begin to rise. First the shrimp, then the lanternfish, then the squid. They rise in a silent stream, thousands of individuals per cubic meter moving together toward the surface. Their bodies reflect the last light of the sun. Their photophores flash in the growing darkness. They feed. They are fed upon. They continue their endless cycle of ascent and descent. This is happening right now, in the ocean below you. It has been happening every day for millions of years. It will continue for millions more, and we are only beginning to understand it. Take a breath. Let the image of the migration form in your mind. The animals rising through the darkness. The lanternfish, their lights flashing. The squid, their tentacles trailing. The shrimp, their bodies translucent. This is the greatest movement of life on Earth, and it is hidden from our eyes. Let us stay with this image for a moment. The scale of it, the beauty of it, the mystery of it. And let us continue our descent. Let us now descend to the seafloor itself, not to the Hadal trenches, but to the vast, flat expanses of the abyssal plain. The abyssal plain covers over half of the Earth's surface. It is the largest habitat on the planet, and it is almost entirely unexplored. The abyssal plain begins at a depth of about 4,000 meters and extends to the edges of the Hadal trenches. It is a flat, featureless landscape covered in a thick layer of sediment that has been accumulating for millions of years. This sediment is called ooze. It is made of the remains of microscopic organisms that lived in the surface waters of the ocean. When these organisms died, their shells and skeletons sank to the seafloor, accumulating in layers that can be hundreds of meters thick. There are two main types of ooze. Calcareous ooze is made of the shells of foraminifera and coccolithophores, organisms that build their shells from calcium carbonate. Siliceous ooze is made of the shells of radiolarians and diatoms, organisms that build their shells from silica. The type of ooze that covers any given part of the seafloor depends on the productivity of the surface waters above and the chemical conditions of the deep ocean. In some places, the ooze is white and chalky. In others, it is brown and silty. In still others, it is red and clay-like. The abyssal plain is not completely featureless. There are seamounts, underwater mountains that rise thousands of meters from the seafloor. These seamounts are volcanic in origin, formed by hotspots in the Earth's mantle. They are islands of life in the desert of the deep, supporting communities of corals, sponges, and fish that are found nowhere else on Earth. There are abyssal hills, low ridges that rise a few hundred meters above the plain. These hills are the most common landform on Earth, covering over 80% of the ocean floor. They are formed by the spreading of the seafloor at mid-ocean ridges, and there are manganese nodules. These are small, potato-sized lumps of metal that cover the abyssal plain in some regions. They are made of manganese, iron, nickel, copper, and cobalt, and they grow at an incredibly slow rate, about 1 millimeter per million years. The manganese nodules are a potential source of valuable metals. Mining companies have been eager to collect them for decades, but the environmental impact of mining the abyssal plain would be enormous. The nodules are the only hard substrate on the plain, and they provide a habitat for a unique community of organisms. Removing them would destroy that habitat. The abyssal plain is also home to a remarkable diversity of life. The sediment is filled with worms, crustaceans, and other small animals that burrow through the ooze. The surface of the sediment is covered with tracks and trails, the footprints of animals that have walked across the seafloor, but the biomass of the abyssal plain is very low. The amount of organic matter that reaches the seafloor from the surface is tiny, less than 1% of the productivity of the surface waters. The animals of the abyssal plain are adapted to this scarcity. They are small, slow-moving, and long-lived. They can go for years without eating. The abyssal plain is a world of extreme patience. The animals that live there move slowly, grow slowly, reproduce slowly. They wait for food to come to them. They wait for mates to find them. They wait for the rare events that punctuate their otherwise uneventful lives. And in this waiting, there is a kind of peace, a stillness that is difficult to find anywhere else on Earth. Let us take a moment to imagine the abyssal plain, the flat, featureless landscape stretching in every direction as far as the eye can see. The sediment, soft and fine, kicked up into clouds by the slightest movement. The animals, small and pale, moving slowly through the darkness. The abyssal plain is the most common environment on Earth. It covers more of the planet than any other habitat, and it is the one we know the least about. We have mapped the surface of Mars and Venus in greater detail than the abyssal plain. We have sent probes to the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, but we have not fully explored the largest habitat on our own planet. This is the great irony of our age. We look to the stars for discovery, but the greatest discovery may be beneath our feet. The abyssal plain is a frontier. It is a wilderness. It is a place of mystery and wonder, and it is waiting for us to explore it. Let us take a breath. Let the image of the abyssal plain settle into your mind. The flat, dark expanse, the slow, patient animals, the manganese nodules growing at a rate of 1 millimeter per million years. This is the world beneath the world, and it is waiting. Let us drift over the abyssal plain now, carried by the currents, floating in the darkness. There is no need to hurry. There is no need to seek. There is only the vast, quiet expanse of the deep. Let the stillness of the abyssal plain fill your mind. Let the patience of the deep become your patience. There is no rush. There is nowhere to go. There is only this moment, this darkness, this peace. The abyssal plain stretches on forever. The sediment is soft beneath us. The water is cold and still, and we drift. Let us drift. And as we drift over the abyssal plain, let us consider one final mystery: the life cycle of the giant squid. We have talked about its size, its eyes, its arms, its hooks, but we have not talked about how it reproduces, and that is because we know almost nothing about it. The reproduction of the giant squid is one of the great unsolved mysteries in marine biology. We have never seen a giant squid mating. We have never seen a giant squid laying eggs. We have never seen a baby giant squid. We have never seen a giant squid egg mass. We know that the giant squid is a cephalopod, and we know how other cephalopods reproduce. Most squid and octopuses have a relatively simple reproductive strategy. The male transfers a packet of sperm, called a spermatophore, to the female using a specialized arm. The female stores the sperm and uses it to fertilize her eggs as she lays them. She then dies shortly after reproducing. But we do not know if the giant squid follows this pattern. We have found spermatophores in the bodies of female giant squid, which suggests that the males do transfer sperm to the females. But we have never seen the process. We do not know where the giant squid lays its eggs. We do not know what the eggs look like. We do not know how many eggs a female produces. We do not know where the young squid grow and develop. Some scientists have suggested that the giant squid lays its eggs in the deep ocean, perhaps in the Hadal zone, where they are safe from predators. Others have suggested that the eggs float in the water column, drifting with the currents until they hatch. The eggs of the giant squid have never been found. This is remarkable considering how large the animal is. The eggs of a giant squid would be enormous, perhaps the size of a basketball or larger, and yet no one has ever seen one. The young of the giant squid are equally mysterious. Tiny giant squid, called paralarvae, have been found in the plankton of the surface waters, but they are rare, and we do not know where they come from or where they go. The life cycle of the giant squid is a blank space in our understanding of the deep ocean. It is a reminder that even the largest and most famous animals in the deep can still hold secrets that we have not yet uncovered. But there is another mystery, perhaps even deeper. The giant squid may not be a single species. Recent genetic studies have suggested that there may be several different species of giant squid, each adapted to different regions of the ocean. The giant squid of the Atlantic may be different from the giant squid of the Pacific. The giant squid of the Southern Ocean may be different from those of the North Pacific. If this is true, then our understanding of the giant squid is even more incomplete than we thought. We may have been studying multiple species without knowing it, lumping them together under a single name. And there is the possibility that other species of giant squid exist, species that we have not yet discovered. The colossal squid was unknown to science until 1925. The Magna was not described until 1998. There could be other large squid, even larger than the giant and colossal squid, living in the deepest parts of the ocean, waiting to be discovered. Consider the possibility. A squid larger than the colossal squid. A squid with arms longer than a bus. A squid that lives in the Hadal zone, at depths of over 10,000 meters. A squid that has never been seen because we have never explored those depths thoroughly. Is this possible? The answer is yes. The Hadal zone is almost entirely unexplored. We have sent humans to the bottom of the Mariana Trench a handful of times. We have sent robotic vehicles to a few other trenches, but the vast majority of the Hadal zone remains unseen. And the Hadal zone is not the only unexplored part of the ocean. The midwater, the vast expanse of water between the surface and the seafloor, is also poorly understood. The midwater is the largest habitat on Earth by volume, and we have barely begun to explore it. The giant squid lives in the midwater. It is a creature of the open ocean, not the seafloor, and we have only seen it alive in the midwater a handful of times. There could be other large animals in the midwater, animals that we have not yet seen. There could be giant jellyfish, with bells the size of houses. There could be giant siphonophores, colonial organisms that can grow to over 40 meters in length. There could be giant worms, giant crustaceans, giant fish, all living in the darkness of the midwater. The deep ocean is the largest and least explored habitat on Earth. It is a world of mystery and wonder, and it is filled with animals that we have not yet discovered. The giant squid is not the end of the story. It is just the beginning. Let us take a moment to appreciate the mystery that remains. The life cycle of the giant squid, unknown. The number of species of giant squid, unknown. The possibility of even larger squid, unknown. The deep ocean is a place of questions. Every answer we find leads to new questions. Every discovery reveals new mysteries, and that is what makes it so fascinating. The deep ocean is not a solved puzzle. It is an open frontier. It is a place where discovery is still possible. Let us embrace the mystery. Let us accept that there are things we do not know and may never know. Let us find peace in the uncertainty. Take a breath. Let the mystery of the giant squid's life cycle settle into your mind. The unknown mating behavior, the unfound eggs, the unseen young, the possibility of undiscovered species. All of this is waiting for us in the deep, and we may never find the answers, but we can continue to look. We can continue to wonder. We can continue to explore. That is the gift of the deep ocean. It gives us a reason to be curious. It gives us a reason to ask questions. It gives us a reason to explore. And that curiosity, that questioning, that exploration is what makes us human. So let us rest now in the comfort of the unknown. Let the mysteries of the deep surround us. Let the questions float through our minds like bioluminescent flashes in the darkness. We do not need to have all the answers. We only need to be willing to ask the questions. And the deep ocean, with its infinite darkness and its hidden wonders, will always provide new questions. Sleep now. Let the questions drift away. Let the answers wait for another day. The deep is patient. The deep is eternal. The deep is waiting. And you are safe. Sleep. But before we go, let us reflect on one more aspect of the deep ocean. The deep ocean is not just a place of mystery and wonder. It is also a place of immense importance to the health of our planet. The deep ocean regulates the Earth's climate. It absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It drives the currents that distribute heat around the globe. It is the engine of the planet's life support system. The deep ocean is cold, very cold. The average temperature of the deep ocean is about 4 degrees Celsius. This cold water is denser than warm water, and it sinks, driving the great ocean currents that circulate around the world. This is called the thermohaline circulation, or the global conveyor belt. The thermohaline circulation is driven by differences in temperature and salinity. Cold, salty water sinks in the North Atlantic and flows southward, deep beneath the surface. It travels all the way to the Southern Ocean, around Antarctica, where it is joined by more cold, sinking water. It then flows into the Indian and Pacific Oceans, where it slowly rises to the surface, warmed by the sun and mixed by the wind. This circulation takes hundreds of years to complete. A molecule of water that sinks in the North Atlantic today will not return to the surface for several centuries. The deep ocean is slow. It is patient. It operates on timescales that are difficult for us to comprehend. But the deep ocean is also changing. The climate is warming, and the deep ocean is warming too. The temperatures of the deep ocean have been rising for decades, and this is affecting the circulation. Some scientists believe that the thermohaline circulation is slowing down, which could have profound effects on the global climate. The deep ocean is also absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. As we burn fossil fuels, we release carbon dioxide into the air. About a quarter of that carbon dioxide is absorbed by the ocean. The ocean is our greatest ally in the fight against climate change, but the carbon dioxide that the ocean absorbs is making the ocean more acidic. The pH of the ocean has dropped by about 30% since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. This acidification is harmful to many marine organisms, especially those that build shells from calcium carbonate, like corals, clams, and some types of plankton. The effects of acidification on the deep ocean are not well understood. The deep ocean is cold and dark, and the organisms that live there are adapted to a stable chemical environment. Acidification could disrupt their ability to build shells, to reproduce, and to survive. And then there is the threat of deep-sea mining. The abyssal plain is covered in manganese nodules, which contain valuable metals like nickel, cobalt, and copper. Mining companies want to collect these nodules, and they have developed the technology to do so. But deep-sea mining would have a devastating impact on the abyssal plain. The mining vehicles would scrape the seafloor, removing the nodules and the sediment around them. This would destroy the habitat of the animals that live there, many of which are found nowhere else on Earth. The plumes of sediment that the mining vehicles would create could spread for hundreds of kilometers, smothering the seafloor and harming the organisms that live there. The noise of the mining vehicles could disrupt the behavior of marine animals, and the removal of the nodules themselves would eliminate the only hard substrate on the abyssal plain. The debate over deep-sea mining is ongoing. Environmental groups are calling for a moratorium on mining until the impacts are better understood. Mining companies are arguing that the metals are needed for the green energy transition, and that deep-sea mining is less harmful than land-based mining. The outcome of this debate will determine the future of the abyssal plain. It will determine whether the largest habitat on Earth remains a wilderness or becomes an industrial zone. These are heavy thoughts for a documentary designed to help you sleep. But they are important thoughts. They remind us that the deep ocean is not separate from our world. It is connected to everything we do. The carbon dioxide we release into the atmosphere ends up in the deep ocean. The metals we use in our phones and computers may one day come from the abyssal plain. The deep ocean is not a distant, isolated place. It is part of our world. It is part of our lives. And we have a responsibility to protect it. So as you drift towards sleep, let these thoughts float through your mind like the bioluminescent flashes of the deep. Let the importance of the ocean settle into your awareness, and let the hope that we will protect it fill your heart. The deep ocean is a place of mystery and wonder. It is a place of giants and leviathans. It is a place of life and death and hope, and it is a place worth protecting. Sleep now. Let the deep hold you. Let the darkness comfort you. Let the mystery embrace you. The ocean is vast. The darkness is deep. And you are safe. Sleep. And let us remember that the deep ocean is not a single place. It is many places, each with its own character, its own mysteries, its own secrets. Every trench, every basin, every seamount has its own story, and we have barely begun to read them. Consider the Puerto Rico Trench. It is the deepest part of the Atlantic Ocean, plunging to over 8,000 meters. It is located north of Puerto Rico, in a region of intense geological activity. The trench is formed by the subduction of the North American plate beneath the Caribbean plate. The Puerto Rico Trench is one of the least explored deep-sea trenches. It has been visited by only a handful of expeditions. The conditions there are extreme. The trench is subject to frequent earthquakes and underwater landslides. The sediment on its floor is unstable, and yet, life persists there. In 2018, a team of scientists from the United States and Puerto Rico deployed a deep-sea lander in the Puerto Rico Trench. The lander was equipped with cameras and baits, designed to attract and record the animals that live at these extreme depths. The footage that the lander captured was remarkable. It showed large amphipods swarming around the bait. It showed deep-sea fish, including snailfish and rat tails. And it showed something unexpected. A large, unidentified creature that appeared in the darkness and then vanished before it could be identified. The scientists who analyzed the footage were cautious. They did not claim to have discovered a new species, but they acknowledged that the footage showed something that could not be easily explained. The Puerto Rico Trench, like all deep-sea trenches, is a place of mystery. It is a place where the unknown still exists. Consider the Kermadec Trench. It is located northeast of New Zealand, in the Pacific Ocean. It is one of the deepest trenches in the world, reaching depths of over 10,000 meters. It is also one of the most volcanically active regions on Earth, with dozens of underwater volcanoes and hydrothermal vent fields. The Kermadec Trench was the site of a major deep-sea expedition in 2014, led by scientists from New Zealand and the United Kingdom. The expedition used a deep-sea submersible to explore the trench, collecting samples and recording video. The expedition discovered a remarkable diversity of life in the trench. They found deep-sea fish, including snailfish and eelpouts. They found giant amphipods, the supergiant Alachella gigantea. They found sea cucumbers, sea stars, and worms. And they found evidence of large animals, including squid and possibly sharks. One of the most exciting moments of the expedition came when the submersible's cameras captured a large, moving object in the darkness. The object was too far away to be identified, but its size and movement suggested that it could be a large squid or a shark. The scientists could not confirm what they had seen. The object disappeared into the darkness before it could be studied. But the sighting added to the growing evidence that large animals live in the deepest parts of the ocean. Consider the Java Trench. It is located south of Indonesia in the Indian Ocean. It reaches depths of over 7,000 meters. It is a region of intense geological activity, formed by the subduction of the Indo-Australian plate beneath the Eurasian plate. The Java Trench is one of the least explored deep-sea trenches in the world. It has been visited by only a handful of scientific expeditions. The conditions there are harsh. The trench is subject to frequent earthquakes and tsunamis. The sediment on its floor is thick and unstable. And yet, there are reports from fishermen and naval vessels of strange sounds coming from the Java Trench, sounds that do not match any known geological or biological source, sounds that some have described as the calls of unknown animals. These reports are anecdotal. They have not been confirmed by scientific instruments, but they are persistent, and they add to the mystery of the deep. Consider the Tonga Trench. It is located near the islands of Tonga in the South Pacific. It is one of the deepest trenches in the world, reaching depths of over 10,000 meters. It is also one of the most geologically active trenches, with frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The Tonga Trench was explored by a team of scientists from Japan in 2010. They used a deep-sea lander to descend to the bottom of the trench, where they captured footage of the deep-sea environment. What they found was surprising. The floor of the Tonga Trench was not a barren wasteland. It was covered in life. Amphipods swarmed around the bait. Snailfish drifted through the darkness. And there were signs of larger animals, including tracks and trails in the sediment. The most exciting discovery was the presence of large squid beaks in the sediment. The beaks were from squid that were larger than any known species. They were from squid that had died and fallen to the seafloor, their remains consumed by scavengers. The discovery of these beaks suggested that there are large squid living in the Tonga Trench, squid that have never been seen by human eyes. Every trench holds secrets. Every expedition reveals something new, and yet, we have explored only a tiny fraction of the deep-sea trenches. There are dozens of them, scattered across the ocean floor, each one a unique environment, each one a potential home for undiscovered species. The Hadal Zone is the last great frontier on Earth. It is a world that we have barely begun to explore, and it is a world that still holds the possibility of discovery. Let us take a moment to appreciate the scale of the unknown. The Hadal Zone is a vast, unexplored wilderness. It is a place where the largest animals on Earth may still be hiding. It is a place where the oldest and strangest creatures may still be living. And it is a place that we are only beginning to understand. Take a breath. Let the images of the deep-sea trenches form in your mind. The Puerto Rico Trench, its floor unstable and mysterious. The Kermadec Trench, its waters filled with volcanic heat and hidden life. The Java Trench, its depths echoing with unknown sounds. The Tonga Trench, its sediment holding the beaks of giant squid. These are the places that we have not yet explored. These are the places where the Leviathans may still be hiding, and they are waiting for us. Sleep now. Let the mystery of the deep surround you. Let the unknown comfort you. Let the darkness hold you. The deep ocean is patient. The deep ocean is eternal. The deep ocean is waiting, and you are safe. Sleep. And as you drift, let us consider one final thought. The deep ocean is a refuge. It is a place where ancient species have survived, where strange creatures have evolved, where the rules of life are different. It is a world apart from our own, but it is also connected to us. The water that fills the deep ocean is the same water that falls as rain and flows in rivers. The carbon that cycles through the deep ocean is the same carbon that makes up our bodies. The oxygen that we breathe is produced, in part, by the phytoplankton that drift in the surface waters, the same waters that feed the deep. We are not separate from the deep ocean. We are part of it. We are connected to it in ways that we are only beginning to understand. And so, when we explore the deep ocean, we are not just exploring a distant alien world. We are exploring a part of ourselves. We are exploring the origins of life. We are exploring the systems that make our planet habitable. The deep ocean is a mirror. It reflects our curiosity, our courage, our desire to know the unknown. It reflects our fear of the dark, our fascination with the strange, our love of mystery, and it reflects our responsibility. The deep ocean is fragile. It is slow to change. It is vulnerable to our actions. The garbage that we dump, the carbon that we emit, the metals that we mine, all of these affect the deep ocean. We have a choice. We can treat the deep ocean as a resource to be exploited, or we can treat it as a wonder to be protected. We can take from it, or we can learn from it. The choice is ours, and it will determine the fate of the last great wilderness on Earth. But tonight, we are not making choices. Tonight, we are exploring. We are drifting. We are sleeping. And as you sleep, let the deep ocean be a comfort to you. Let its vastness remind you that there are still mysteries in this world. Let its darkness remind you that there is still wonder in the unknown. Let its giants remind you that there are still things larger than us, older than us, more mysterious than us. The deep ocean is a gift. It is a gift of wonder, of mystery, of possibility, and it is waiting for us. Sleep now. Let the deep ocean carry you into the most peaceful sleep you have ever known. The giants are sleeping too. The giant squid, resting in the currents. The colossal squid, drifting in the darkness. The sperm whale, floating between dives. The Greenland shark, swimming slowly through the icy waters. All of them are resting, conserving their strength for the hunt that awaits. And you can rest too. You can let go of the day. You can release the tension in your body. You can allow your mind to drift into the deep, where there is nothing to worry about, nothing to fear, nothing to do but sleep. The ocean is deep. The darkness is vast. The mystery is eternal. And you are safe. Sleep, and let the sounds of the deep ocean be your lullaby. The low rumble of the earth's tectonic plates, grinding together in the darkness. The distant song of the humpback whale, traveling for thousands of kilometers through the deep sound channel. The sharp click of the sperm whale searching for squid in the abyss. The strange metallic twang of the biotwang, a sound that no one has fully explained. These sounds are the music of the deep. They are the voices of a world that we cannot see. They are the calls of creatures that we are only beginning to understand. And among those sounds, there may be voices that we have not yet identified. There may be calls from animals that we have not yet discovered. There may be the clicks and whistles and songs of creatures that have never been seen by human eyes. The deep ocean is a symphony. It is a chorus of unknown voices singing in the darkness. And we are only beginning to listen. So listen now. Let the sounds of the deep fill your mind. The crack of an iceberg, breaking apart in the polar sea. The groan of the seafloor, shifting under the weight of the water. The flash of bioluminescence, a silent burst of light in the eternal dark. All of this is happening right now, beneath the surface of the ocean. All of this is part of the deep, a world that we can barely perceive. But we can imagine it. We can feel it. We can let it carry us into sleep. So let the deep carry you now. Let the darkness embrace you. Let the mystery comfort you. The ocean is deep. The night is long. And you are safe. Let the deep take you now. Sleep. And in your sleep, let the deep ocean be your dream. Dream of the giant squid, its enormous eyes reflecting the faint bioluminescent glow of the abyss. Dream of the colossal squid, its hooks ready, its beak waiting. Dream of the sperm whale, descending through the darkness, its echolocation clicking like a metronome in the deep. Dream of the Greenland shark, 400 years old, swimming through the Arctic waters. It has been alive longer than any human who has ever lived. It has seen empires rise and fall. It has witnessed the entire history of modern civilization from the cold, dark waters of the North Atlantic. Dream of the oarfish, the sea serpent of legend, its ribbon-like body undulating through the mid-water. Dream of the frilled shark, a living fossil from the age of dinosaurs. Dream of the goblin shark, its jaw shooting forward like a mechanical trap. Dream of all of them. Let them drift through your mind like the creatures of a deep-sea dream. And when you wake, remember that they are still there, still swimming, still hunting, still living their lives in the darkness beneath the waves. The deep ocean does not sleep. It is always awake, always moving, always alive. But you can sleep. You can rest. You can let the deep hold you until morning. So sleep now. Let the deep take you. Let the darkness wrap around you like a blanket. Let the silence fill your mind. The ocean is deep. The night is long. The mystery is eternal. And you are safe. Sleep. Let the currents of the deep carry you gently, like the drift of the Magna Pinna. Let the patience of the Greenland shark become your patience. Let the slow, steady rhythm of the deep become your breath. In and out, in and out. Slow and steady like the tides that move the ocean. There is no rush here. There is no destination. There is only the journey, the drift, the gentle fall into sleep. The deep ocean is not a place of urgency. It is a place of waiting, of patience, of eternal stillness. The creatures of the deep do not hurry. They do not rush. They move with the slow, deliberate grace of animals that have all the time in the world. Because in the deep, time moves differently. A year is like a day. A century is like a moment. The deep ocean operates on a time scale that is almost geological. And tonight, you are part of that slowness. You are part of that patience. You are drifting with the deep, letting go of the hurry and the rush of the surface world. So let go now. Let the deep take you. Let the darkness hold you. Let the mystery carry you into sleep. The ocean is deep. The night is long. The giants are dreaming, and you are safe. Sleep. The last thing we see before the darkness takes us completely is the bioluminescent flash of a deep-sea jellyfish. It pulses gently, a soft blue-green glow in the infinite dark. It is a signal, a reminder, a greeting from the deep. That jellyfish has been drifting in this darkness for months, perhaps years. It has never seen the sun. It has never felt the warmth of the surface. It knows only the cold, the pressure, the slow drift of the deep. And yet, it glows. It produces light in the darkness, a small defiance against the overwhelming night. There is something beautiful in that, something hopeful, something that speaks to the resilience of life. The deep ocean is dark, but it is filled with light. The deep ocean is cold, but it is filled with warmth. The deep ocean is mysterious, but it is filled with wonder. And tonight, you have traveled through that world. You have seen its giants. You have heard its sounds. You have felt its presence. Now let it carry you into sleep. Good night, traveler of the deep. May your dreams be filled with the slow, graceful movement of the giant squid, the silent drift of the magna, the ancient patience of the Greenland shark, the living light of a million bioluminescent creatures. Good night, and sleep well. Rest deeply, knowing that the ocean is vast, the darkness is deep, and the mysteries of the deep are eternal. They will be there when you wake, still waiting, still hidden, still calling to those who are curious enough to listen. Good night, and sweet dreams of the deep. The abyss is calling you to rest now, to let go of all thought and drift into the silent darkness where peace awaits. Sleep.